welcome to the Christmas special 2013 for Retrograde. My name is Jack Marshall. I'm joined today by my three ho-ho hosts, Anthony Hobday.
Hello.
Suzanne Fisher.
Hi.
And James McFadden.
Hey.
Woo, yeah.
Woo.
We all having a good Christmas?
It's Christmas!
Yeah,
Very
it is
excited.
Christmas. We all having a good Christmas?
I haven't had it yet.
Are you kidding, Jack?
What?
Have we had a good Christmas?
Well, you're having... All right, you're having...
Is this coming out before Christmas?
Are you having
This
a
isn't
good Christmas?
This isn't Christmas. This is December.
This
What
is
are you
May.
doing?
We're recording this in May, actually, to be honest, so it's a bit early. You having a good Christmas?
We're recording it directly after the last one.
I've done 5 of these in a row. Hopefully we're still going.
Yeah.
We're going to do 2014 after this. I'm having a bad Christmas. Do you want to know why? I've been waiting to tell you this.
Oh.
My two housemates, they mocked my Santa Claus impression.
Did they?
The other night we were playing, like, who can do the best Santa impression, and my one's been,
that famous game.
Oh, have you been a good boy? And I think that's a good
Very
Santa
similar,
Claus.
very similar to your paedophile impression.
I think it's good. Have you been on the naughty list?
Right.
That's a good
What's
Santa
wrong with it?
Claus.
What's wrong with it?
Do your
Is
Santa
your
impression.
face when
What's
you're
wrong
doing
with my
it
face?
because you suddenly tilt it and go at a different angle and swoop in, and it's
That's how
very,
Santa talks.
It's very unsettling. Well, I can't do Santa because I'm a girl.
Do Mrs. Claus.
How does she sound?
What a bloody hell, Santa!
Oh, Monty Python, Mrs. Claus.
He doesn't work, he only works one day a year.
He's not Father Christmas, he's a very naughty boy.
No.
That's good. But I was quite, I'm looking forward to being a granddad and dressing up in the Santa Claus and stuff and going
Dude,
down
you
there
got
and
to find a wife and have kids
first. Let's see if there's coal in your stocking.
It's funny because he never will.
Well, no, what's hilarious is that he's then got to raise a human capable of finding another human to make with it.
Happen.
It's the probability is not
He
high,
could just
Jack.
donate his
Hello.
sperm.
That's true.
Yeah, but then he won't really know the kid.
Be a bit weird when I turn up to like these people that use my sperm's house and go, remember me? I'm now Santa.
I think a 16 or
Look
18.
at the angle of my head.
I've got more presents for you.
I think at 16 or 18 they get a chance to find out who their real dad is. So they probably
One chance.
Yeah, one chance
Like
at both of those
X-Factor.
ages.
You're now 16. You got one chance. Go get him.
A guy has the file in his hand, like over a fire, and if you say him, he just drops it.
Yeah.
I spent a Christmas movie. 16. Gotta go find a sperm donor. They call it like, who's the donor? Boop. Something like that.
It could be a pun on Father
I'm
Christmas.
sure
is the
that's
name.
already.
Who's your daddy? Oh,
No, it would be a pun on
Copyright.
Father Christmas.
Patent pending.
Who's your Father
Who's your
Christmas?
Father Christmas?
You just
Yeah.
tried to patent penned a film.
Because he
That's not
donated
a
his
thing.
sperm
Oh.
on Christmas. That's weird.
Jack, this is not going to be.
No. The boy was born
boy?
on Christmas.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, because then he goes to find
James,
him at
what are you
Christmas.
looking forward to
And then it
most
turns
about
out to be
Christmas?
Jesus.
I'm actually looking forward to it ending because this type of banal conversation is just gonna finito, done. I don't.
Okay.
If there's any reason for me to hate Christmas, it's listening to this sort of podcast and being constantly reminded that it turns everyone temporarily insane.
Oh, James.
Let's have some banal conversation
was
about
that
games
Santa
instead.
Claus?
Yeah, I'll stop doing my Santa voice. Sounds more like God.
Jack, I think you should do the rest of the podcast just with the Santa Claus voice.
Oh, no, I won't. It's too hard. Hurts my throat.
Okay.
It's hard to-
categories this year.
See, that's not a bad Santa voice. That's quite good.
Yeah. Maybe Anthony is Santa Claus.
You love Christmas deep down, there, James.
That would explain so much.
Like the beard.
His childlike wonderment.
The fact that he always wears red
The
and
fact
white.
he doesn't have a proper job.
Gives people presents all the time.
Yeah.
We were doing a quiz.
He
we were doing
does
a pub
give people
quiz.
presents all the time.
And he brought a pocket full of eclairs, which were actually really good, but nobody does that.
James,
Wait. Do you mean the sweets or
Yes.
actual chocolate eclairs?
Yeah, he had 5 actual chocolate eclairs in his pocket.
They were smushed. They're still good. I mean,
What I liked about that was that the heat from your body warmed them up enough, so the toffee wasn't too hard. It was quite a nice eating experience.
I wouldn't have eaten the eclairs from your pocket.
They had wrappers on still.
Yeah.
Still
wrapped.
wouldn't have. You could have unwrapped them, licked them, wrapped them up again, and put back in your pocket.
pocket eclair. He didn't want a pocket eclair.
That's weird, man.
A poke eclair.
Get with the times.
How's things at school, Mazan, with your kids going mental for Christmas? Imagine it must be a right nightmare before Christmas.
Well, they would be.
Oh, they're all listening, aren't they? I bet they're right
They're not all
darlings.
listening. They're not all listening.
Do you not get your whole school to listen?
I'm not the whole school. We don't all sit down weekly and listen to the show.
They
Is
play
this
it over the
not
PA
assembled?
system.
A few of the kids listen, not many.
Shout out.
No, basically, the trick with the last week before Christmas is to plan lessons which I call super awesome Christmas fun times. But basically, it just
Cleaning the
it just
classroom.
recaps everything I've taught them this term.
That doesn't sound fun.
And they've got to use all the skills I've taught them in a final performance which has a Christmas theme to it.
Oh.
So like my year 9s.
Oh, you're a drama teacher?
Yes.
I was wondering it'd be quite hard for a maths teacher to do.
No, yeah, I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Well, I do I do things like that. So, like, my year 9s are currently making a pantomime for me, a traditional pantomime. My year 7s are doing physical theatre Christmas adventures, like the Snowman kind of story, like that. My year 8s, because we've been doing a musical theatre unit, they're choreographing and singing a Christmas song of their choice and performing that for me. So it's channeling their excitement about Christmas, but using all the skills I've taught them already. So it's still educational, but they see it as being really good fun.
Cool.
And me letting them blow off some steam kind of thing for Christmas, which in essence it is.
And you get to go dance, children, dance.
Pretty much.
Like a puppet master. It's good.
Yeah, that just sounds a bit creepy.
Puppet mistress.
That's worse.
Mistress.
Well, smart
Anthony,
girl.
what about you? You're a Christmas person. You love Christmas as much as I do.
No, I like it because I get a lot of chocolate. Unless everyone thinks everyone else is getting me chocolate, and then I don't get any
You're
chocolate.
obsessed with
You're like
chocolate.
an adult.
He is
You can
obsessed with
just
chocolate. This is
go
why he's
out
Father
and buy chocolate.
You know, because I don't buy any because I expect I'll get some as a gift, right? And that's better. But then I can't go out if I don't get any because everything's closed. So Christmas Day is the worst day for chocolate, which
It's
is
like a
bit of
gamble.
Chocolate is one of those things.
It
Like
is a
when I was
gamble.
a kid, like chocolate was such a luxury. Now I'm an adult. It's so cheap. Like advent calendars are like
Cheap. I remember the days when you get a Mars bar for 25p.
Chocolate is dirty.
Now
You
they're
go in.
60p.
Account for inflation, the Sam.
I go in. I'll be like, oh, I get this Mars bar 40p, and it's like 80p. You get like a pack of 4.
Yeah, that's if it's on special.
Still,
On special.
It's not always.
Yeah, Anthony calls them special O's.
Special.
what chocolate are you hoping to get, Anthony? What's your favourite? Bit of Kinder?
Kinder's pretty good.
One of those giant tins of roses, I guess.
Roses.
Oh,
Oh, that's a good one.
The kilogram
roses
ones.
celebrations.
Those are good.
Boxes
Roses
of
are-
chocolates
No,
are
roses
never
are the
good.
ultimate. Roses
Roses
are the
are a
best.
poor man's celebration.
Okay,
Oh,
you're
shut
all-
up.
you're all
Celebrations are the
stupid.
chav roses.
You are all very stupid people. Listen to me. Boxes of chocolates are bad because invariably, unless you are somehow some kind of freak of nature and your tastes are so broad, there are going to be some chocolates in there that you hate. For me, they're coffee and coconut ones. They can just...
Oh, I hate
They
coffee ones.
can-
They don't do coffee ones in roses anymore. They got rid of them
really?
because no one liked them.
Well,
I
they're...
don't like
mean,
mint. I don't know what mental patient drops some mint in the big like the chocolate
You
batch.
don't like mint chocolate?
See,
Anything mint. Stick mint in it. I'm like,
I'm
what's wrong
really,
with you?
I'm really lucky at work when we get the big tins of chocolate in.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in our department who likes all the strawberry creams
Oh,
and
I
the
like-
orange
I like
creams.
strawberry creams.
They are my all-time
They're
favourites.
divisive as well.
They're my all-time favourites, but everyone else in the office really hates them. And so as soon as we get a tin and we open it, then instantly I get a big pile of all of them on my desk.
Do you
and
like
I'm
the
just
orange
like,
cream
this is
ones?
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, see, I hate
Why
those.
don't they mix bananas with chocolates more?
Ew.
You never get banana chocolate flavour stuff.
Well, because
Well,
you have to...
you can't. You do get chocolate-covered bananas quite a lot.
They do oranges. They do like strawberries.
I think it's because the texture of the banana won't last well in chocolate or won't mix well with chocolate. Like you can't.
I think Jackie even means like a
like you
flavour.
can't have certain fruits in jelly because the jelly won't set because of the fruit.
Oh, really?
Typically,
Pineapple, kiwi.
banana goes
Is that-
better with toffee. So you get like banana
Yeah,
and toffee
that's true.
sweets.
Oh,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
fair enough. Fair
It
enough.
might be
Do you
because
ever have toffos? Did you ever have toffos?
No.
Oh, they were amazing.
it might be because
The
bananas
banana flavoured ones are those.
a little bit fatty. Like it's not like mint or orange. So it's two fatty things together. Maybe that doesn't. I don't know.
Don't know. I'd eat it. I'd lap it up. Just just get a banana on a stick
Well,
and
you
dip it
get
in
those.
chocolate.
You get those.
You can get those.
Oh yeah,
What
frozen
are you on
bananas.
about?
Yeah, frozen bananas. You can get those.
You get
can't
Have
dry-
you never done
dry
chocolate
bananas.
on a barbecue?
No, because oh yeah, no. I've wrapped bacon around a banana and I did a barbecue.
What the hell?
Seriously, that was amazing. Someone told me, and my face was just like yours. I was like, "You mental patient." Then I tried it and went, "That was really
Can't
good."
say that anymore, by the way.
You nutcase. But
Freaking
yeah.
mental.
it's really nice.
They do dry banana dipped in chocolate. You know the.
Yeah, I like dry banana.
In
Like
health
you
food
get
Banana
shops.
chips are
that-
amazing.
yeah, dry banana chips. Are
I
really
hate
lovely.
bananas
Love 'em.
so much. They give you a weird aftertaste that like clings to the back of your throat. It's bizarre. I don't
That's
like
'cause you
it.
swallow them in one.
Yeah. I don't like it when fruit outstays its welcome.
It is very similar to that, actually.
Yeah.
Like milk.
Like what?
No, milk's thinner.
sometimes stays around.
No, it's a totally different thing.
Milk's thinner.
Milk
if it's
stays in
gone
your
off.
mouth, but bananas stay in your throat. At least as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Like yogurt.
Perhaps I don't know. This
Have you not eaten yogurt?
This went to a
Such
weird
dis-
place.
This is such
Christmas!
this is such a detour. People are going, wait, is this
Yeah.
meant to be a retro gaming podcast? They're talking about bananas and what they taste like in the back of
Yeah.
your throat. Well, we decided to do a little bit of a change for the Christmas special.
Yeah, well,
this
actually,
year.
we haven't done my banner yet, have we, Jack?
Oh, well, you said you hated Christmas, so you
yeah,
don't get
I
any
do,
banter.
well, I do hate Christmas, actually.
Go on,
Jack.
then.
If you
I'd
hate
like to
Christmas, you don't get to talk about
Yeah,
it.
what are you
monologue
talking
about
about?
that for a moment.
Go on.
Christmas, you can go and yourself. Yeah, bleep it. I don't care. Bleep it. bleep
Well,
it.
I've been doing Audacity for like a year. People want to know that I do use on Audacity, and I found out I've been having to copy and paste a bleep noise in for your foul mouth, and now I realise there's a little thing on it.
You're looking at Anthony when you're saying
I just have to highlight a bit of it and go right, put a bleep in. They've got the functionality in the program.
whenever-
See, I am not
hours.
surprised that you didn't know that.
That does not mean you can't just go off the rocket and swear.
Whenever I say anything, there's just going to be one gigantic bleep sound.
I could just
for,
bleep
like,
you the whole
30
show.
seconds straight.
People just be like, "Wow, that James is filthy." Oh dear. What's your banter then, James?
Oh, God knows. I last spoke about Beyond Two Souls on the show when I was like halfway through. I was like, yeah, it's better than the reviews suggest. But now I'm a bit further on, and it's actually very racist and cringy and weird. And I'm convinced that David
Really?
Cage can't tell a good story.
Racist?
Profoundly badly written. It's an awful piece of. I hesitate to call it art. It's an awful production.
Wow. Does
yeah.
it sour Heavy Rain for you at all? I know it
No,
sounds like a
but
weird thing
it
to say,
reinforces the opinion I've always held, which was that it was a bit of a fluke for the development team, and they're probably not going to do anything similar to that for quite a long time.
Just ruin their Christmas. They could all be listening, gathered
What's
round. They
that?
go, "Ooh."
What's that Quantum one about? Like stopping time and then is that Beyond Two
Quantum
Souls?
Break.
Yeah, that's not them. That's the people. Like,
That's Remedy.
Yeah.
They did Max Payne.
Okay, and
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake.
Yeah.
You looking forward to that?
No, because I think it's gimmicky. I don't like the conceit of having it melded with the reality TV, or not reality TV, just the live action TV. Because I mean, they've showed clips of the TV show, and it's what they've shown was appallingly written as well. So I don't have high hopes.
I think in my brain I'd like equated that with Beyond Two Souls, so I kind of got the two mixed up.
Oh, okay.
So I thought James will like this, but
Well, it's because the development company who make Beyond Two Souls are called Quantic Dream.
oh, that'll probably be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's very similar names. Yeah, okay.
Well, anyway, so today's episode, we decided we're going to do something a bit different, and we're going to look as we go into the new generation of consoles, as PS4 and Xbox Ones and Wii U's, who've been out for a while, but are all hitting the shelves and people are moving on to the next gen. We thought, let's take a look back at the last gen, which is obviously the 360, PC, PS3, the Wii, and I guess the DS and PSP, but also the PS Vita and the 3DS, kind of, because they kind of switched
straddled.
over
Yeah.
mid.
Yeah.
So we each decided we're going to have we're going to discuss 6 categories, which we each pick one category, and then we have best game and worst game, and also one more for best single in-game moment.
James picked two categories because he likes talking about games.
I didn't pick two
Yeah.
categories. I suggested ones that weren't tied to any of us. But Anthony has repeatedly had an issue with this because every time we talk about it, he's like, James, pick two categories. Pick two. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair.
He's only jealous because he didn't think of it first.
Yeah, well.
Okay, let's roll
That's obviously
straight.
it.
Let's roll straight into the first one, which is the category I chose called best story. And I'm going to set this up straight away by being very controversial by saying that I actually think this generation of
Transport
consoles,
Tycoon.
until the last maybe year, generally storytelling has been quite weak. And I only realised that when I started assessing, right, what's been the best story game that I've played.
Do
Well,
you
hang on
mean-
a second.
Do you mean in comparison to the previous generations or just in general?
No, just in when I think about the previous generation, so the Xbox and PS2, we had games like Fahrenheit, which were like a really good stories, and then
Whoa, that's a strange thing to say. Fahrenheit had a really good story,
Fahrenheit's fantastic.
but Heavy Rain not so much.
Well, this thing, so coming into this generation, I don't know, it just still feels like there was only really a handful of very good story games, and this is kind of reflected in the listeners who voted in. People were choosing the same games. For example, I chose The Walking Dead, and that was a very common one that was coming
I
up.
nearly put that.
And I don't know, it just seemed until the end of the generation where you had things like The Last of Us and Heavy Rain. I know Heavy Rain was about a year and a half ago, but stories haven't started becoming as prominent. Is that fair to say, or am I being stupid?
I don't think it's fair to say. I think that people are choosing games that came out later in the cycle of this generation because they tend to be the best games, because people are focusing less on optimizing, on more on just sort of making a quality production. I mean, if you look at the best games from the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation, everyone's going to choose the ones that came out later because they're the best ones, and they're what you remember when you're thinking about something for this type of show, you know?
Well, maybe we need to rephrase it. Maybe we need to say that in terms of all the categories we've got coming up, best story was actually my most limited category. There was only, for me, about 6 games that I could choose from, which is
Yeah.
quite sad for a whole generation.
Or I
There were
guess
some
there are
amazing
far less
stories,
games
but-
that are about the story than
Yeah,
there are that
exactly.
have a visual
Yeah.
aesthetic or.
And the disparity between the best game stories and even like the sort of intermediate game stories is so huge that there are going to be some front runners that are more obvious.
But the gimmick category is very limited as well.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But
It's not as important. air quotes.
Roseanne, what did you choose for best story?
Skyward Sword.
I haven't played it yet. Why did you choose Skyward
Well, that's
Sword?
not my fault.
Out of interest. What's,
Because it went back to before every single Zelda game that has ever existed, you know, with the crazy Zelda
It's-
timeline there is.
it's the first one in the timeline, right? Is that right?
That's what I was
I'm-
saying, yeah.
Yeah,
So
sorry, I just wanted to
That's
make
what I
sure.
did say,
Just want to make that clear. I remember, remember you saying this first
so
one.
it goes back to it's essentially genesis of the storyline and Link and Zelda and their history and how Hyrule was created and how Ganondorf.
Yep.
How he was. I thought I was getting him confused with Gandalf for a second. They're very similar names. And how he was created, how the kingdoms were created, the spirits were created, the Triforce was created, and it just gives you all of that information in a really enjoyable story to play. Obviously, it's got your classic Zelda structure that you would expect. You have the light world, the dark world, and you develop the skills, and you use those skills to solve the puzzles, the temples. You get the bits to make the thing, to go into another time, and then you do it all again, and then you get Zelda. So it's the classic. What are you on about? That's a classic structure.
I'm gonna throw a curveball.
Why is Anthony laughing?
I'm gonna throw a curveball your way, Lisanne, right? I don't think the Zelda games can ever tell a good story until they actually put in voice acting.
Oh, come on. Limbo tells a great story and there's not a single bit of dialogue.
Yeah, but that's a different type of game entirely. Limbo relies on the visual cues to tell a story, whereas Zelda is more of a traditional narrative. It has characters with dialogue that are talking all the time. There's just no...
But surely, isn't it a testament to the strength of the animation and the game design that you are able to still really enjoy the story without the need for dialogue? There are whole sections of the theatre industry devoted to non-verbal communication.
Well, I mean, it's totally subjective. I just think that there would be more emotional impact if, maybe not Link, but all of the supporting characters at least had fully voiced dialogue.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Like silent movies. The Kid with Charlie Chaplin. It's one of the most emotional things I've ever seen.
Yeah, compare it to Citizen Kane and see which people prefer in general, though. It's not...
Citizen Kane's terrible. You ever watched Citizen Kane?
It's terrible.
Anyway.
Right,
goes on a bit. Sorry, no, but yeah, okay.
So that's why I chose Skyward Sword, purely because it just sets up the whole franchise, and there's lots and lots and lots of nods to the games that have gone before, which in our timeline, which obviously in that timeline are going to happen, and so it sets up a lot of that.
So
and if you know the games, then you get all that, and
so the ties to the other games in the
sense.
franchise kind of help the story grow, because you infer stuff that isn't necessarily told in the game, but you know from other games. It kind of builds on itself.
Exactly.
James, what did you choose out of interest?
Wait, can I ask?
Oh, sorry, go on.
Did the story have any particular impact on you aside from that connection to other games?
Yes.
Like
when Link finally saved Zelda and got her back.
Spoilers.
Spoiler up.
Oh, come on, everyone knows that's how all of them end. It was.
Wait, why is Princess Link saving the hero Zelda?
It was stunning. I was moved. I did shed a tear, which doesn't happen to me very often in games. But it was so cinematic and so epic, and I was playing it on such a big TV, and sitting really, close to it.
That makes a big difference.
It does, and I was sitting really close
about
to it.
I actually just like big TVs. Maybe I give best story to the 65-inch.
It was just wonderful, and because I'd spent it's a really long game, because Zelda games are always really long,
yes.
And so it was that sense of achievement as well, that I'd done it, and it was really, really emotive. The ending,
Fair enough.
It was good.
James, what did you choose?
I had to think about this for a while, because I was thinking about what kind of story I thought deserved to be mentioned, whether it was something that the player came up with, whether it was just a straight up narrative, whether it was something that was kind of tertiary to the main point of the game. But I would think it's probably best to go with something traditional here, so I chose Grand Theft Auto 4 because I think Rockstar have the best writing in the industry.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, they do.
GTA 5 is one of the worst things I've ever carry on, sorry, go on. I
like the way it handles player agency, because there are one or two moments in which you do have a choice, whether you can kill or sort of not redeem but let go certain key characters. And one of the themes throughout the game is essentially that revenge is essentially pointless. It's not. I mean, it's like, so what? You've killed so many people to get here, but why? And I think that it's quite good commentary on the GTA games in general. It's not as flagrant as the ones in GTA 5 are, in which it's like sort of very self-referential, but it definitely shines a spotlight on the hyper-violence.
I was going to say GTA 4 story I enjoyed a hell of a lot more than GTA 5.
Oh, definitely.
GTA 5 just felt it was just a bit silly.
And it wasn't until I played GTA 5 that I actually truly apprecited what GTA 4 had done.
I'd agree with that, actually. No, I would agree with that.
It's very cinematic, but it's the characters, especially supporting characters, because Nico's kind of like... He's a good character, but he's a bit too bland for my taste. But a lot of the supporting characters are very characterful, and they're interesting to hear talk and spend time around, which is actually quite difficult to do with fictional characters, I reckon.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. Antti, what did you choose?
Half-Life 2, which was released on the Xbox, but was also released as part of the Orange Box on the 360 and PS3, and it came out a year on the PC before the Xbox 2004, so before the Xbox 360 was released.
Well, I'm going to agree way in and just say, fine, fair enough, you want to pick that. That wasn't in the last generation for me, but carry on.
Well, it was.
It wasn't.
Come on,
It wasn't.
Okay, the source
it came
engine
out before the 360.
The source
and
engine
the
that
Wii.
Half-Life 2 released with is used for a huge amount of games on this generation. How is that
it came
not?
out in 2004. The next gen of consoles hadn't come out yet.
Half-Life, yeah, but the PC was like that gen already. Like,
But the only other game I could choose for this category, so I wouldn't have
No,
known
do
anything.
Half-Life 2. No, it's fine to do Half-Life 2. Go on.
Well, no, it's not. You just told him it wasn't.
well,
Well, no, I don't think
Half-Life
it is.
Out of curiosity, though, Anthony, what was the other game you were thinking of?
It was Shadow of the Colossus, which is not even... That's way further removed from this last generation than... But they also released that in an HD remake on
Well,
PS3.
Half-Life 2, going back to that, doesn't have a character that talks either. So
No, it
not
has
that's
other
not the
people
main
who
thing, but that's
talk.
another interesting one that.
Don't
other
you think
characters
Half-Life
talk.
2 would have been better if Gordon Freeman was fully voiced?
Okay, so I choose Half-Life 2 Episode 2, which was part of the 360 PS3 generation.
Go on then.
Mainly because of the larger story it fit into. And talking about that larger story, which includes Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1, I'm not saying that aliens invading Earth is particularly an original story, but the way that they told it, and I know there's a difference between the story and the storytelling, but the way that they told it is basically you had to tease it out of the game because most of the characters is talking as if you already know what's going on. Or they're talking to each other as if they already know what's going on. So you basically have to like read posters on the wall, listen for context clues, see things that you might have easily missed, and just get little hints of what's going on, say, in the other realm that the aliens came from. And I like those kind of stories that basically keep you guessing and make it a bit of a mystery because they keep you wanting to know more, I guess.
I felt the Half-Life 2, the only thing I remember playing about it story-wise was that, I remember playing it, doing all the stuff, running around, the Combine and all stuff, and it was awesome. And then I got to a bit where you walk under a bridge and suddenly there's an alien hanging on the roof. And it didn't really explain. I was like, oh, so the aliens are still around? Did they just hang around? Did they get sent back? And it was suddenly like, oh,
That
so
one hangs
the
around.
aliens are still, from Zen, are still here. And I felt
Yeah,
that
that is a bit-
without Half-Life 1... It wasn't really made clear what was going on. You were like, why are there all these head crabs running around? What's going on here? And that was the only thing I felt about it that was a little bit weak in terms of story. But
Well, I know
love
the head crabs
Combine
are there
stuff.
because the Combine used them.
But
As
is that-
they send them in the missiles. But I'm actually glad that I changed it from Half-Life 2 to Episode 2 because if any of you played Episode 2, you know the ending is very powerful. But and that's sort of a cliffhanger they left it on that.
It's like
And that's one of the reasons
7 years
everyone's
ago.
waiting for
Yeah.
Episode 3. And so that was probably one of the most powerful moments in first-person shooters, I think. Or one of the most well-directed.
How do you
powerful
feel
moments.
about the cutscenes not being cutscenes, but being just moments in which the characters talk to each other in a static environment, and the player can just move around?
Well, it makes skipping them impossible, so that's a bit annoying. But it also makes playing through again, you can have fun while
Does
they're
it make
talking.
them more immersive though? Because I mean, you're trading off the directed camera angles and stuff for player movement and freedom there.
But yeah, since it's always from Gordon's eyes, like you never leave Gordon's eyes, I think even if they were directed, they would still have to be through Gordon's eyes, because coming out of Gordon's eyes would be like weird.
Yeah, of course.
Well, our listeners who answered the survey, most popular option was The Walking Dead. Majority of them chose Walking Dead, but there was one interesting one that I actually wanted to mention, and Last of Us actually came up a little bit. But the one interesting one to mention was a guy called Ian Grimm who said Dishonored, and I actually forgot that Dishonored did actually have quite a nice little story. It was quite simple, but it was good actually. I
The
really
story in
enjoyed
Dishonored
it.
is what kept me going, because I liked that whole revenge plot. Like,
Yeah.
that's a really great. It's like films that have a revenge plot are fantastic, like Taken.
Yes. Yeah.
Only God Forgives.
Sure. Wait, what's that one?
Kill Bill.
Only God Forgives was weird. That's not really
Weird, but it's a good revenge story.
doesn't really have a story as such. It has a
Running Man. It's a great one. all right, next up we have
Titus
Ben.
no, but
Andronicus.
yours.
Next
We
one
haven't
we
discussed
sorry.
yours.
Classic.
Oh, well, I just said The Walking Dead, and to be honest, it's because I think it just develops characters incredibly well. Clementine is probably my favourite character of the last generation. It was quite an easy
Yeah.
choice for me.
I agree with you on that one actually. Clementine.
Like,
was fantastic.
I'm not very good at analysing what I enjoy about a story. I mean, I was thinking about Fallout 3, then I thought, well, as a story arc, Fallout 3 is not very good, but Fallout 3 has like set pieces that I love the story for. Like when you go into the fantasy world, like fictional neighbourhood
Chinese
bit,
uprising
and that's
thing.
and there's great little bits, but overall, I thought it's not a great story arc, because the actual story of you trying to find your dad, I found a bit boring. So I just thought, well, I'm not good at analysing stories. I said, what character had the biggest impact on me? And it was Clementine. So I thought, well, there you go. That's probably my favourite story. I guess I'm thinking that story is driven by characters, but that's probably a bad thing to say. In
Only character-driven stories are driven by characters.
There we go. Well, there
They
you go.
tend
But
to be
yeah,
the most emotional, though.
well, let's move
Yeah,
on.
but again, it depends on what your intentions for your audience are.
It's also worth noting that
The Walking
the
Dead
first
wanted
episode,
that emotional reaction.
the first
so it's
episode,
character-driven.
the first episode of the second season, Walking Dead, released today.
Oh, really?
For
I think that was out
months.
already. Wow.
Which, if you're listening to this, it's been out for a while now, so give it a go.
Should be playing it, yeah. Next category we have is Best Atmosphere. Who chose Atmosphere as their category out of interest?
James, because that's his favourite thing about games.
Oh, was that me?
Yeah, you chose atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remember what game you chose, James?
Oh, of course I do. I chose Dark Souls because I think the most important part of Dark Souls atmosphere is the fact that it's a game of partial information. So you're presented with all of these menus and options and stats and enemies and environments, and you're not told that much about them.
God.
You're put in a situation and you're made to figure it out yourself. And that reflects itself in the narrative as well, because you're not told much about the characters or the bosses or anything you're doing. It's kind of all hinted at and whispered by certain characters and stuff, and you need to infer a lot, and none of it's really set in stone. I mean, the director of the game said he wanted it to feel kind of like a dream, which I can totally get. And that in itself is also reflected in the combat. Well, no, sorry, it's not. The weird ethereal nature and the fear factor that sort of unknowingness creates is reflected in the combat, because obviously Dark Souls is a game in which you die repeatedly. That's kind of the main thing that people think about.
A lot of people agreed with you, including, apologies if I get your name wrong, but Skida, Sycada, said Dark Souls as well. He said it was really...
Wait, say
because
that.
he managed
Spell that out again.
Sycada, because he managed to take a tired visual concept like stock standard Western RPGs and make the atmosphere
Not
so
cider.
thick with dread and horror that it got me jumping as shadows and terrified of the unknown. Brilliant
Yeah,
game.
and I think
So
this
he
is this is one of the only games I know in which the gameplay really strongly affects the atmosphere, because it's made scary not just by the aesthetic cues that you're given, but also by the fact that you can die at any point, regardless of what you're doing. You can die, and so you're always on edge.
Encouraging that helplessness.
Yeah, exactly. And that the gameplay being used to affect the narrative in that way, I think, is actually very intelligently done.
Anthony, what did you go for Best Atmosphere? Do you remember?
Mass Effect 2. And this actually tied in with... Because I realised there's a difference between story and storytelling.
You don't want to say Final Fantasy 7? No? You're alright with Mass Effect 2? Yeah? Okay, good.
Super Mario Bros.
Mass Effect 2, I think, it was basically... It's basically J.J. Abrams the game, because there's all these pinpoint lights that are very bright on the... You know, his lighting effect that he does on every film he's ever
Lens
made.
flare.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lens flare, but it's like very sharp lens flare. I don't know how you describe it. But it's got a lot of that, and it feels very filmographic.
Filmographical, yeah.
Cinematographic.
Cinematic.
Cinematic, that's the word, yeah.
Amazing.
And because it's so cinematic and it's so futuristic, I think the atmosphere perfectly complements the fact that it's a sci-fi epic, and your character, like, I just enjoyed watching these characters talk, you know, it wasn't just trying to skip past stuff.
Is it unfair to say, though, that it's kind of... Is it unfair to say that it's been done before in like other sci-fi, Star Trek films and things like that? Is it okay to say that an atmosphere, it doesn't necessarily need to be fresh or new for you, it can be borrowed and done well?
Right, but I don't think a game's ever done atmosphere in the same way Mass Effect has.
No, fair enough,
Usually
okay.
when you think of atmosphere, you think of something heavy like oppression or helplessness or horror and things. Like horror games are known for their atmosphere.
Yeah.
I like this because it felt very futuristic, and you could feel the character. Like the whole thing was basically crafted to be like a film, but the one you were controlling. And I really enjoyed that atmosphere.
Why not 1 or 3 Avengers? Why 2? What made that one stand?
1 was a bit unpolished for the time. Well, not for the time. For the time, it's fantastic. But compared to 2, it was unpolished. And 3 wasn't as well made either.
Oh,
The
interesting.
ending, right? The ending.
I didn't mind the ending because I can handle bad stories, especially in video games, because I don't really play them for that.
I mean, the story and the atmosphere are kind of interlinked, aren't they? So
Sure, I mean, atmosphere is basically a combination of everything else, I think. Like,
Yeah.
the effect it
Yeah.
produces in you. And Mass Effect 2, I just felt like this space badass. Like, I really
Yeah.
enjoyed how I felt when I played the game. Which I now realize sounds
sounds
weird.
happy all over
No,
your face.
no, it doesn't. Because
But,
the whole point of atmosphere is to make you feel a certain way,
Yeah.
and that's its function.
And Mass Effect 2 made me feel awesome. And it was just, I only chose number 2 because it was the peak of the series.
Do you think that the character interaction helped with the atmosphere a lot? Because I think that the Mass Effect games, especially with the later iterations, they veered toward an action sort of genre as opposed to an RPG genre. And I kind of feel like the discussion wheel, sort of like angry, happy, altruistic, whatever, became redundant in a way. I think it would have fared just as well if it was a standard third-person shooter set in that environment.
No, I think the wheel made the entire difference. I'm going to say what you said earlier about voicing. Like, would it help the story of it being voiced? I think Mass Effect 2, especially all of them, the voice acting helped tremendously because it obviously contributes to that film feeling. Like, obviously, Skyward Sword feels like a game. It doesn't feel like a film because people aren't talking.
Yeah.
They're just going, "Ah," and then he says like 18 words.
That's very true.
But in Mass Effect 2, everything, like, there's so much voice acting and it all contributes to that. And I think the fact that you can control those conversations makes it more like a film you're taking part in rather than just an action game, which it would have been if it had just been Gears of War in space.
Yeah.
Well, Gears of War was in space, but I mean, it was
Gears of War primarily in space.
Yeah.
I was torn between two. Once again, Fallout 3 was one, but then I realised I just loved the whole setting of a post-apocalyptic world and the music and all that, and it kind of got me going. But then I thought, actually, I had to go for Bioshock.
Yeah.
Purely because, I mean, what you were just saying about is how you, like you were saying, Lizanne, about how a game makes you feel. When I play games, I can recognise mechanics, I can understand how they're working. Bioshock's one of the few games of the generation where I really got sucked into the atmosphere of the game, and I generally felt fear. I genuinely felt like, oh God, you know, I'm dreading playing, not dreading playing this, but you know what I mean. You're kind of nervous, and the whole thing, like the plane crash and the giant. Like, I was generally mesmerised. I was like, wow, this is different. I've not played this. And it was I'd probably say the first game of this gen. It was released quite a while ago, Bioshock, maybe like 2008. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it was 2008.
It was the first game that I went, wow, this is next gen. This is kind of what I brought this Xbox 360 for. This is different than anything I've had on Xbox. So yeah, atmosphere.
That is the sign of something truly great. Like when you're a specialist in that field, to be able to experience something that completely suckers you in, so you stop analysing it.
Yeah,
It's huge.
exactly. I agree with that.
I get that whenever I go to the theatre or see a film. Obviously, I study acting and storytelling, and so if I'm able to be completely sucked in by a play or a movie, I consider that a triumph because I have stopped analysing it. It's the rubbish ones or the ones that are just about average that I'm analysing because that's what I've always been trained to do whilst watching these things.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a really good reason. I like that. You've made me want to try playing it.
Oh, you should. It's fantastic.
Bioshock's a fantastic game, yeah.
What did you choose, Lizanne?
I chose Super Mario Galaxy.
Good, yeah.
I was debating whether to put Galaxy or Galaxy 2, because Galaxy 2 I feel is a better game, but obviously that's because they learnt from Super Mario
They're
Galaxy.
effectively the same game, though, right?
Essentially, yeah, but obviously there's some differences. But I went for actual Super Mario Galaxy because it was just incredible. When I got the Wii and that came out, and then I put it in and I started playing it.
I'm glad you said you put it in, otherwise you just think you were staring at a screen.
Oh, shut
you know what I mean?
And I was just amazed, absolutely amazed. And it's what they want you to feel. They wanted you to feel the childlike wonderment that, you know, with the Mario universe, which a lot of us would have experienced the first time we played Mario back on a NES or a SNES, whatever you had first.
Yeah.
And Galaxy made me feel that again. I mean, it's so bright, it's so colourful. The music is absolutely amazing.
It is, especially Gusty Gusty Garden Galaxy.
Yeah, they're just
what you were
stunning.
saying about Bioshock, I remember finishing Galaxy, and whilst I was playing it, I was enjoying it, but I always kind of felt like, oh, yeah. And I remember finishing it and just kind of the credits came on, just going, wow, that was so much fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realise how good it was until I stopped. I finished the game and went, wow, that was really.
Did you go back
really
through and get
good
all the
fun.
green stars?
I went for a majority, and then I realised it was actually really hard. And it kind of when it started getting really hard, when it got really hard, it started detracting from, I guess, the atmosphere and how much I enjoyed the wonder of it all, and every new level being a bit different.
Well,
and it was so good.
Yeah, but initially, that first playthrough, it's just I can't even put it into words properly. That's why I'm stuttering so much.
To put into words,
Thank
I'd
you.
say that Mario Galaxy is the most whimsical of all the Marios.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in an utterly enchanting way.
Oh, yeah.
That completely sucks
Which
you in.
it's really helped by the, well, that's the next category, but visual aesthetic, because like the slightly
Spoiler alert.
what's that effect called where they show you like a dream sequence in an old film and it's sort of slightly cloudy or whitened or
sepia.
Well, it's called a flashback.
Vaseline.
yeah,
But then if you
the
can
filter.
put that effect on it. Yeah, it's
Well,
a
like,
filter. It's
do you mean
using
like
sepia
bloom?
tones.
yeah, no, it makes everything,
when there's like
everything glow
when there's like a
slightly,
harp
like
Or
and it goes,
grainy. Oh no, you mean a
Bloom.
soft focus?
yeah.
Soft
Soft
focus,
focus,
right.
yeah.
It sort of had that effect going on a little bit. Like
Well, that was because of the Wii, though. It was because it was low definition, right?
Yeah, the Wii isn't HD.
no, I think it was intentional because it makes it more whimsical.
Well, I don't know about that, actually. I think a lot of the Wii, especially the later on Wii games, they used that kind of trick to mask the fact that it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Oh, but it worked for the game. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
it's-
absolutely.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But
I think that a large part of Super Mario Galaxy's charm and just skill was the level design, which I still maintain is
Oh,
the best,
yeah, the
best
planets.
level design in the industry.
Yeah,
those
absolutely stunning.
Perfect.
Mario games, including new fruits, Super Mario 3D World, do an amazing thing where they'll give you a design mechanic, say like the bee suit or like the pogo Mario or something like that, and then they use it once, and it will very rarely get used again. It's same with level design. They'll do an idea, do it for a level, and you haven't even got time to get bored of it before they're throwing a new design mechanic at you.
It's kind of the reverse
And
of Zelda.
it's genius. Well, other games like things like Assassin's Creed, they'll give you a tool and then they'll make you use it for hours and hours and hours until you get bored of it, and then they bring a new one in. But Nintendo's design, they just keep hammering you with new mechanics. So if there's one you don't enjoy, you don't have to worry, because about 2 minutes later there can be a completely new mechanic and a way of controlling Mario.
I've heard that's because they just, I might have mentioned this before, but they just sit there in R&D and think up new game mechanics and then find a game to put them in. Like that's how they approach it. So they just throw all of the ones they designed into a Mario game because they've not got any other game to put it in, and a Mario game gets born.
Yeah,
amazing.
But it also kind of reflects the difference in design philosophy, because I mean, you've got one quality Mario game every 4 or 5 years, whereas Assassin's Creed now is essentially a yearly installation.
Yeah,
just like Call of Duty.
Because Assassin's Creed is trying to sell software,
just
whereas
like
the Mario games are trying to sell hardware.
That's not a thing. Medal of Honor.
Well, not really.
All those rubbish games.
Okay, right.
Okay, but the next category, have we done?
Well, I was just gonna quickly saying among our listenerships, it was quite. To be honest, it was a lot of Demon Souls, a lot of Dark Souls, and Bioshock. To be honest, a couple of interesting one in particular. One user called let me just find his name. Brock the Hitman said Sleeping Dogs.
Oh, interesting.
That's quite cool. And you really enjoyed it, didn't you, Anthony?
Yeah, it was an open world game, so at first glance it seemed like Grand Theft Auto Hong Kong, but it turns out
me from playing it.
No, but it turns out this is going to sound like a criticism, but it's not. It turns out it's very streamlined in terms of its story delivery. So there's not a lot to do to keep you occupied outside of the storyline. So basically, the open world is there, and you can do races and things, but essentially, the open world is just a tool to make it seem like a more vibrant city to play in. So the atmosphere there is that you're actually in this living, breathing city, because there's all this detail you never really get to explore, just like if you were actually driving around Hong Kong.
Well, next category is visual aesthetic. Best visual aesthetic. Who chose that? You, Anthony, right?
Yeah, I think I chose it because I had a game in mind.
I'll go first, I guess, in this one. I dived straight in and said Minecraft, because
it is iconic now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such an impact. And when I first saw it, I remember thinking it looked quite shonky. And what I loved about, maybe I'm getting visual aesthetic wrong on this, but what I loved about it is
no, you got it right.
What people did with it is what made it so visually beautiful. Like when you start, it's a shonky looking game. Then you start building something, and somehow that really simple what do they call the kind of cube designs? It's got a name in graphical terms. I can't remember.
Cubism.
No, there's
I think Cubism ironically did not include cubes.
No, there's a term for it, and I've completely forgotten the name of it is now. It's kind of like, and loads of games borrow it now, like loads of them are doing it. But
well, I just want to say before I forget, in case our listeners think we're ignorant, that they stole the art style for that from Infiniminer.
Yes,
that was based more of a tech demo.
Minecraft infuriates me because it's so derivative. It's insane.
It's derivative of one game, and there have been like 6,000 million games that are derivative of Minecraft.
I just found that when that square sun comes up and there's that little piano going ding, and it shines a light on the thing that you've been building, something about that again, it's that visual element I've never seen before. It's the only game I've probably played this generation where I felt proud. Of things I did in it, and I know that's not. Again, really? I think that comes down to the. Sometimes you
feel proud when you got all the stars in Galaxy.
It's a different kind of pride, though.
He hasn't built those stars.
Really strange. And I guess I think it's just a visual aesthetic of. Basically, it's Lego in a game. I mean, that's what everyone says. It's the cliche, but the visual aesthetic of it works so well for me.
It's interesting that you say you find it more visually appealing when you've built things, because actually. Minecraft is a weird one, but I enjoy the aesthetic. I enjoy looking at it when it's just the landscapes, because the way they're set up, the fact that it's procedurally generated, means I'm really excited to just run and see what develops. It's like exploring a new planet that just goes on and on forever.
Have you you've seen those pictures of things that people have built in Minecraft, like huge villages and things?
It blows me away.
They're amazing.
Those are incredible.
Yeah,
and I think
you see the Hogwarts.
No, I don't think so.
Someone's built there must have been loads of people, but it's amazing.
But when you see that, since the visual aesthetic is so simple, the fact they're making these complicated things out of it that really impress you, I think makes it even more impressive.
Yeah.
Especially the, I think it's 1/8. Like, they took all of Moria from Lord of the Rings. Is that Moria? The underground, like the caves. They built all of that, but to like 1/8 scale, so each block is like 4 meters in. Yeah. So they made that, and it's just remarkably stunning how big these caves are and how much time they spent on it. And the fact that you can get that, a sense of wonder out of such a simple, blocky aesthetic is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Lizanne, what did you choose?
I actually missed this off the list, I've just realised. So on the spot, I am going to pick Trine.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't know if any
That's
of
an
you
interesting
have
one.
played.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple side-scrolling platform in essence, where you cycle between the three characters, but visually, it is absolutely beautiful. It was the first HD game I played on my laptop, which is a gaming laptop. And the visuals just blew me away because it was every single scene looked like a work of art. It was just stunning.
Very
the depth
bloomy.
of detail, and but it had that lovely gloomy tone to it. It's slightly romanticised,
No, bloomy.
Oh, bloomy.
Yeah, lots of bloom used in Trine. Like the sun.
The sun is everywhere in that game.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
silhouettes abound.
Yeah, but it is beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it is.
It is stunning. Absolutely
I
beautiful.
think it's a very good, what I mean is a very good use of light in that game. Like, there's a lot of light sources, and they work very well.
Well, it's because you're collecting the glowing orbs,
Yeah.
obviously, and they glow and they do let off a little shine. Then you know where they are, and then you can go and find them and get them and stuff. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful.
Trine, around that time, I mean, I doubt Trine sort of heralded the rise of this, but it was around that time when the brown, grey, first-person shooter style kind of received a backlash, and the more colourful, sort of vibrant art style became more prominent.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's the dividing point in this generation. Around the time, that was also around the time that indies became way more prominent.
Yes, definitely. Well, I got it in an indie bundle. Yeah.
And it's distinctive, especially at the time.
I think you easily also could have given Mario Galaxy again.
Yeah.
Visual
Well,
aesthetic.
yeah, if I hadn't have already picked it, then it
Yeah.
would have been Galaxy again. Because it is just beautiful to look at. One of the best designed Mario games ever. But Trine, I think it has that different art style, which you don't see a lot.
Jacob Ingalls
Not
said...
a lot of people pay that much attention to it.
Jacob Ingalls, one of our listeners, said Super Mario Galaxy. It just literally just said everything just worked visually in the game. Yeah, it was on the floor. But, yeah.
No, it really does.
It's a shame in a way that it's on such old hardware. I would have been interested to see what they would have done with PS3.
Well-
personally, I don't think it makes any difference. It looked stunning.
They'll
One
be
of the
releasing a
best
new
looking
one
games.
soon for the Wii U.
Well, they just did.
What, Galaxy 3?
Oh no, well, the Super Mario
Well-
3D World, which is it's got the same artists.
Oh yeah, but it's not in the Galaxy vein. Now,
That's true, yeah.
Now it's gone on. We've got the new Super Mario Brothers, which is your side scroller,
yeah.
and now we've also got Galaxy, which is the 3D platformer.
Oh, so they're
And then-
making another Galaxy.
Well, I presume
Well,
so.
you've
The
got-
first two are so successful.
They might not. Might
You've
make
got
Universal.
Super Mario Land 3D, the new one on Wii U, is kind of like almost like 2.5D.
Yeah.
Almost. It's kind of like
Yeah. That's
side
similar to the
scrolling,
3DS
but
It's not
but it's not
Galaxy. They will
truly-
make a Galaxy
yeah.
3. Galaxy and Galaxy 2 was so well received. They have to be.
I don't know if
developing it for the Wii
they'll
U.
make Galaxy 3. Don't forget, Galaxy 2 was their first sequel they've done since Super Mario World 2 for Mario. The first
Oh, they're all sequels.
oh,
Don't be
Yeah,
ridiculous.
they'll probably just make Mario Universe, right?
Anthony, what did you choose
Mario
for
Universe
best
would be
visual
good.
aesthetic? We haven't really asked you, have we?
No, it was my category as well, so better slip one in there. Tales of Vesperia.
Okay.
The Tales games always have a, well, not always, but they usually have sort of cartoony, cel-shaded look, but because the 360 was the most powerful console to date they've done it on, they sort of went all out, and it's got just really stunning locations and everything. And I'm playing there's a lot of talk about Tales games, but I'm playing Tales of Xillia right now, and on the PS3, and they didn't put anywhere near as much effort into the environmental art and everything. It's all a bit samey. But in Vesperia, they put a lot of effort into just making it look as good as it could on the 360. So it's sort of probably the best cel-shaded style game I've ever seen.
See, I'm interested that you didn't choose Ni no Kuni.
I was just about to say that as well. Yeah. Ni no Kuni.
Wait,
Well, no,
have you
that's-
completed it yet?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I probably announced it on the show. Ni no Kuni's sort of a similar art style, but it's not as tightly done as Vesperia. Although Ni no Kuni's a fantastic game in different ways. But Tales of Vesperia is just... I don't know, it's probably the most well-crafted game graphically. But no, Ni no Kuni was another choice I had, and it still looks fantastic, the environmental art especially. And flying around the world map and everything was, great. But yeah, that's mine.
James, what do you go for?
I went for Journey.
Don't stop. No, not that one.
Well, I mean, that's got a pretty good aesthetic as well, but not visually, sadly. Journey, for me, is probably the most beautiful game that's ever been made. It just... The way the visual aesthetic is crafted is that it feels quite oppressive. You're given very large landscapes, but it feels quite oppressive because there is sand everywhere, and it's pressing in on you from all sides. And I love the way that the ancient civilization is shown to be sort of buried throughout these levels, and the sand just permeates everything. And the sense of flow, the sense of motion that you feel in that game is constant. I mean, the character model has a scarf that increases in length as the game goes on. And that scarf, the way that moves and flows, there are also pieces of fabric that really are very similar to the scarf that are always flowing in the wind. It feels just alive. And the way that when you move on the sand, I mean, the sand is always blowing. There's always kind of a small texture above the sand that's like sand blowing. But when the character model moves on the sand, it leaves a trail. I mean, there's like an ability button that you hold down and it releases like a shockwave. And the sand reacts to that. And I don't know if the entire ground texture is like slightly deformable, or if there's an animation that happens on the character model when that happens, but it amazes me. I think having that constant sense of I can slightly change this whenever I want is amazing. And just throughout that game, I remember just being constantly awestruck at how freaking gorgeous it is.
Among our listeners, most popular option was Limbo. That's quite interesting.
Oh yeah, no, it is. I forgot. Damn, I forgot about Limbo.
Kelly
Love
Ingalls.
Limbo. Boring.
Black and white, I don't care.
No, but but that's the genius is in the simplicity.
I don't think it's genius. I think it's dull.
This is why I chose genius and simplicity. Is why I chose best visual aesthetic rather than best graphics, which is a more obvious choice. Because if you give limitations to game designers, they'll come up with things that are amazing and stand the test of time, just like Galaxy will. And Super Mario
Limbo
World
will as well. They'll stand the test of time easily.
Barely anyone remembers Limbo. Come on.
But Crisis
All the
3...
listeners did.
Kelly Ingalls,
We forgot, but the listeners remembered.
This game's completely creepy, but the aesthetic was new. And I don't know how you could say that Journey was so powerfully visual aesthetic and then Limbo wasn't, when actually...
Because Journey actually involves use of colour, whereas Limbo is black and white and grayscale.
Why
So
is colour...
Yeah, what's...
What
I don't see colour.
Racist.
Colour is more interesting than shade. I mean, I'm not... Imagine...
Again, it comes back to what the intention is. And the atmosphere.
Well, yeah, but I'm viewing this strictly from a visual aesthetic. I think that Limbo is too similar to itself. It's constantly the same. Whereas Journey actually it evolves. I mean, the sand and fabric, the red and orange of Journey is used a lot, but later on it completely changes. Whereas Limbo
I just realised something epic.
What?
Journey, it goes on a journey in terms of its colour scheme and the way it develops.
That's correct.
Limbo, it is trapped in one state.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Just like
Limbo.
Limbo.
Just like Limbo.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Damn.
I've done it. I've cracked
Damn.
it. Do I win?
It's almost as though they're naming the games based on what they are. That's crazy.
Like Tomb Raider, because she raised tombs.
Whoa, steady on, Jack.
Gears of War.
What, really? I never realised that. That's insane.
Huh? Yeah, she raised tombs. She doesn't actually. She hardly ever goes in tombs. She's always in shipwrecks and stuff like that. Silly girl. Next category. Zan, you chose this one. Caused me a bit of a headache. I didn't understand it. Best gimmick.
Best gimmick.
Spent a while describing to Jack
I don't know.
what gimmick
Wow.
is.
Jack didn't understand what gimmick was.
That gimmick's a
Well,
bad
no,
thing.
to be
What?
fair, when three people are trying to explain to one person what something is, there's a lot of crosswires.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's why teachers, like, classrooms aren't 30 teachers and one student.
Well, the
Because
last
that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
the last generation was probably the most gimmicky, if that's the correct term to use for that.
the correct term,
most
yeah.
gimmicky generation we've ever had.
That's
I mean,
why I
we-
picked it.
we've had like things like power gloves and light guns and stuff like that
And
in
Kinects
previous generations. But
and
this,
Rock
this
Band and all its peripherals.
I've never had so many peripherals and changes in games development and design as well in this generation. There's so much stuff brought in, so it's actually quite a tricky one to choose.
Well, I think it's because graphics stopped being so important and they started trying to appeal to people other ways.
Yeah.
Whereas before they could have just done a straight power increase. But
That's really encouraging.
yeah, I mean, if it creates more plastic peripherals, I'm not sure it is encouraging. But
Well, no, but I mean,
Well, no,
the
but
fact
it-
that they're approaching gameplay is, it means for advancement.
yeah,
instead
if it
of-
creates more,
It's leading to Oculus Rift.
if
the
it creates
Oculus Rift
more,
looks terrible. I mean,
Oh, I've never tried one.
I don't want to wear a computer on my head. to
I
play a
like it.
game.
I give it well. Maybe a bit ill.
You
said
threw
it
up,
made
didn't
you
you?
I
ill.
got really ill. Maybe really heat, like hot. Yeah, got
How
hot.
the
Yeah,
hell
but then
did
I
you
watched
like it?
Gravity in 3D at the IMAX, and that made me sick. So,
So perhaps 3D and wearing stuff on your face isn't a great idea for entertainment. I don't know.
well, it
Maybe
is
that's
just not when it's really spinny. Anyway, gimmicks. What
What
was
did,
your gimmick, Jack?
That's a very good question. I need to go back and actually have a quick look. So someone else go first. Anthony, what did you do?
Oh, rubbish.
Sorry, I got to dig up my list.
mine was the speakers in the Wii remote. And it
I
seems
love
like
that you put that.
most people chose gimmicks that are actually well used or often used and well used in some cases. But very few games use the speakers in the Wii remotes to any effect at all, except for just to sort of play back player-specific sounds.
I remember No More Heroes, you receive a phone call, and to answer it, you'd literally put the Wii remote to your ear, and it would speak the person out the speaker there, and I was like, that's industrial.
really
That was
cool.
it, and that's
in Skyward Sword, your sword noises only came from there. They didn't come from
Yeah.
the TV.
So
They
it's
came
like
from there.
this-
So as you were swooshing it past your head, you got the swoosh noise going around
But
you.
that totally breaks the immersion because you've got all these other sounds coming from your surround sound system, and then whenever you hit something with a sword, you've got these tiny little speakers in a totally different place making this cha sound or whatever.
No, Link's voice would still come from the telly. It was just the actual sword noises.
Ch or whatever. It's
Yeah.
still like really tinny and that's
You sure it wasn't that? You sure it
But it's
wasn't
coming
Neil
from a
behind
different
you going?
location. But it's coming from a different location. I thought it was cool.
That is cool. That is cool. But no, similar to No More Heroes' phone call. But was that a single player game? Single player, right?
Yeah, No More Heroes single player.
Yeah, it's similar to that, but that was the reason I actually chose it. Not No More Heroes, but Red Steel, which is a very early Wii game. But
I
the
bought that
multiplayer, yeah, so did I, because it was launch.
terrible.
Had to buy some
Yeah,
games.
it's awful.
Plus, it had sword fighting with a rumor. But in the multiplayer version, there was a game type where you would be told through the speaker, so just for you again, but multiplayer, who you had to kill
Oh,
out of the four of you.
Oh, that's quite cool.
So it would phone you up, you'd get a phone call, you'd answer it, and it would say you had to kill player 3.
Nice.
And then no one else would hear that because it was just you and the speaker. And then, so that was a fantastic way to tell the players who they had to kill amongst the team, which they couldn't have put on the screen because everyone would have seen it. So they couldn't have done that
Wait,
with...
this was local multiplayer.
Yeah. I played it with 3 other people once.
But then couldn't the other people hear what was coming out of your...
No, because it was quiet enough and you're holding it to your ear.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So there was no other way they really could have done that without some kind of code system on the screen that obfuscate it. But coming through the speaker on the Wii remote was perfect for that, and it's a shame they never really used it for things like that again. But there's obviously very few use cases where you can take advantage of that because you just sort of design a game.
It seems like most of the cases involve some kind of mobile phone.
Yeah, like in No More Heroes, but this was even better than that, I think, because it actually had a reason to.
In Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix on the Wii,
Classic
you
game.
obviously use the Wii. It is a classic game. What you're at. Obviously, you use the Wiimote as your wand, and the different gestures you do with it cast different spells. But you'd also get all your wand noises coming from there, and the different spells you cast gave you
Wand
different noise
noises.
from there. The swooshing of the
Wah.
wand,
Oh.
the wafting of the wand.
See, I think that's good for immersion. I think a good use of the Wii remote speakers, but none of them I don't think they've ever done something quite as good as the phone calls.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't know they'd done that. That was good.
There was a game where you could stick the Wii remote literally inside a doll, like a big fluffy doll thing, and it would use a speaker, so the doll would be talking to you. So when you're walking around on screen with the doll would be walking on screen, and you go, "Oh, careful that rock!" And it would come out of the speaker and the Wii remote.
I think I remember that. It's
It's
like kids, right?
Yeah.
And you move the doll around to move.
I was going to choose a very obvious one of achievements, which a lot of our listeners choose, including Frosty Taz chose it. Made a really good line saying, forget Wii remotes, connects, moves and DLCs. Achievements replace the high scores on the arcade machines.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true, but I had a really good think about it, and there is, in Call of Duty, of all things, there's a thing called Def Mic, which is absolutely genius, and it came in about, I want to say, Black Ops 1, where even if you choose, and it's quite a bit controversial, even if you have your mic off, and people might correct us on me, if you have your mic off, when you die in a multiplayer game, it turns your mic on for 3 seconds after you die. And most people don't even know this feature exists. So what happens is you kill someone, and only you hear that person go, "Oh, you son of a... how did you get me?" And it cuts off again. And that little mechanic of just turning it on is brilliant. And I always love
That's very clever.
So
that is a nice little gimmick.
They're giving you an insight into the most vile moment of the COD experience.
And there are this
like a
generation...
direct channel of the filth and that runs through their veins directly into your brain for 3 seconds.
This generation has brought in all these little tiny design gimmicks that are really fantastic. Like in Gears of War, when you reload a gun, and it has the kind of, as you're reloading, there'll be that little bar that moves up, and if you hit it at the perfect moment, you get a perfect reload. Little things like that. On the surface, you kind of go, "That's a bit gimmicky." But that Def Mic just, it gives so much to it. It's brilliant.
The Death Mic reminds me of the feature, I think it was in a Burnout game, or maybe a Need for Speed game, but if you crashed another person off the road in multiplayer, and they had the camera enabled, it would take a picture of their face at the moment of their impact, and then it would show you that face. So
that's amazing.
That's similar to that with cameras, but obviously that's
I just loved how subtle it was, and most people didn't even realise it was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, most people listening probably don't even realise that happens.
You didn't go for the kill cam then in that case, because that was game changing when that came out, and still Battlefield.
Kill cam was
But
Call
kill
of Duty
cam was
1, though.
I think kill cam might have even
Yeah, I
been...
think it was
Really, I
Call
think
of
it was
Duty.
Modern Warfare.
No, Call of Duty 1 definitely.
I think
that
even
then?
Counter-Strike had kill cam,
No, it
didn't it?
No.
I guess the other things you could watch people back. But I agree with you, kill cam is a thing, but I don't know, I remember this Def Mic roguelike thing, and then it was only when I knew it was happening, but I never thought about it until someone told me it does that. I went, oh man, that's brilliant. The best design mechanics are the ones you don't even realise are happening.
Kind of intrusive as well.
You're on the phone with your mother while being killed.
Because mum just got murdered. James, what did you go for?
I went for free to play. When the generation was kind of new and fresh, and free to play was just happening with mainly iOS and mobile games, it seemed terrible to me because the products that were being released were so awful. The quality was so terrible, and they wanted you to pay like £50 for an extra bird or whatever, an Angry Birds, I don't know. Sell as your soul, and he turns pink. But as the generation's gone on,
Where do I sign?
the use of free to play has changed a bit. And whilst
Any great examples?
Dota 2 is the best example,
Of course. Yeah.
The hats.
no, that's Team Fortress 2.
Oh, sorry.
But that's also free to play and by the same company. So
Okay.
close.
I was close.
But I mean, have any of you guys played Dota 2 except
No.
for me?
No.
Anthony,
I tried.
Proud of
You've
it.
seen it.
Played for about 10
You
minutes.
know, when I say the production values are sky high, you know what I mean, right? They're phenomenal. That is a game that anyone who's interested would be happy to pay like $60 for.
Oh, yeah. Well, not 60, but sure.
Well, normal price.
5, you know.
And the fact that that's being given away for free to anyone who doesn't want to buy any of the cosmetic items is amazing and opens up the audience so hugely. And I think that's really important in games because as the next generation goes on, the audience is becoming wider and wider and wider, and people are not going to pay like however much the extortionate fees the EA want to charge are anymore. They're not going to pay that much. So I think free to play is going to become increasingly more popular with the optional extras included. And I think it's changed the way that games are developed. They're less of a commodity and more of a service, like an ongoing thing. You don't buy one thing and then just have it. You kind of experience it and then continue to.
I find it amazing now that even I know someone who brought an Xbox One and didn't actually buy a game with it. And I said, why didn't you buy a game? And he goes, well, there's enough content on the Xbox One with like just demos and stuff like that, and I know it's not free to play, but to keep him busy. And it's the first ever generation of consoles we've had where if you brought an Xbox or a GameCube without any games, you just couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But now you could go on. I remember getting a game called Happy Wars for free. I turned on my Xbox the other day. There's one that's like a 4-player zombie shoot up that's free. PS Move and PS like Gold membership thing. I know that's kind of thing, but I know these aren't free to play.
I got my Vita like a month or so ago, and I haven't bought a single game. I've got like 5 games for that, and I've not paid.
I know that's more kind of marketing things, but I know what you mean by like actual free to play games. Even even things like Angry Birds are free to play. You can download them for free at certain points. It is blown away that like you could get these games and play them for free. Even sometimes trials and like games like that. It's amazing, really.
It's kind of it has that very positive aspect that it's increasing the amount of people that can play, and in general, sort of providing something for a much cheaper starting point for those who don't want to get really deep into it. But it also there's a negative aspect in that a lot of greedy publishers are forcing developers to include really insane free-to-play aspects
DLC
in their games that they already charge full price for, which is totally dangerous. But I think that's probably going to die out as they realise people aren't going to pay for it anymore.
I'm almost amazed at companies, like Skyrim, Spylanders. I'm surprised they didn't give away the game as a free download, but you have to buy all the figures just to get through it.
It's outdated thinking. I guarantee they would have made more money if they had done that.
Yeah. I
guarantee it.
What were you going to say, Lizanne? Sorry.
I was just going to say that's one thing that really annoys me about DLC is that if I've already paid for a game, why are you going to make me pay more?
Well,
pay more money.
The phrase,
like, a free to play, fair enough. I didn't pay for this game, so therefore, if I want to, I then will pay. And I totally understand that. Fair play, do it. But it's this new attitude where you buy a game for 59p on the App Store or whatever on iOS, and then you've then got to pay to carry on playing the game, and it's like, but I've already paid you.
Well, that's the point. DLC is quite a dangerous phrase. They should be referred to as expansion packs, I think, and released as standalone content. Because if it's DLC, that implies that it's something that was part of the game that is rendered obsolete unless I pay an extra.
I think
exactly, which really irritates me about games. Some of the games at the moment.
I think the design of DLC varies from left to right depending on the game. Something like Candy Crush, where you pay 69p and you get the impression from the level maps and stuff like that you can go all the way up to level 120. Then you get to about level 13 and it goes, oh no, you need to get 3 friends to like you, and then you'll get the next level. That annoys me. However, something like Rock Band, where I buy it, I get 40 songs, and then I go, but there's all these other songs on the marketplace, and they're all DLC. That I like. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no, that's good because that's adding additional content. It's not. It's not
exactly.
Your gameplay is not limited if you don't buy them. Your gameplay is only limited to those 40 songs. That's it. If you want more songs, you can buy more songs, but that doesn't stop your enjoyment of the actual game. What annoys me is when you actually have to buy those things to progress in the game.
But with the Rock
That's
Band
what irritates
example, the point at which I draw the distinction is: was this developed before it was released? If so, include it with the base
No.
game. Otherwise,
I disagree, because shipping a game a lot of DLC will come about because of the fact that the game will be finished, it's going through submission, and while they're doing pre-production on the next game, you have artists and coders sitting around doing nothing. So the game's gone, the game's in submission, they're waiting for it to pass, they're waiting for it to get shipped, and they're like, well, let's work on stuff on this engine and get it out at the same time. The one I do agree with you, though, if it manages to make it on the disc, it's like, well, no, you put it on the disc, you had plenty of time to add this in the game. But there are certain things, like I remember when we were working on Batman Arkham City, there were, we finished the game, it was in submission, we were doing it in QA, it was finished, and there were people sitting around, so like, what should we do? Let's work on the Arc Game of the Year edition stuff and start pushing that. And it's just because you don't want people sitting around and they just want to make more content. But I completely agree. If it's something like you get 90% of the way through the game, they're like, the last 10% is DLC, that's taking the mickey. It's like, no, come on now.
well, the
that's
difference
harsh.
between the Rock Band approach and the Valve approach is that in Valve's Dota 2, the items that you pay for, although they could have been developed in conjunction with the game, they're purely cosmetic. They have no pragmatic, functional impact on the game. But with Rock Band DLC, the songs are the game. You're playing the songs. So for them to give you 40 and then release 500 afterwards, it's like, you could have given away some of these with the base client.
Did you say what your favourite gimmick was, Suzanne?
No,
No, go ahead.
3D on the 3DS.
I think James might have something to say about
Well,
that.
James doesn't like it because James can't do it properly. Bless
I
him.
shouldn't have to be able to do something
It's
like...
not a hard thing to do.
It's terrible.
You just look at it. You just look at it and it's 3D.
Do you know anyone who owns a
It's-
3D TV? No, because they're such a bad idea.
I've got a 3D TV.
Oh, funnily enough, you're the one who's suggesting that 3D is a good gimmick, though. Do you know anyone else who might be partial that has one?
Simon has
Neil,
But you have the same TV.
it's his.
Simon has one.
Simon has one. Yeah.
To be fair to Lizanne, the most technically mind-blowing
Yeah,
thing...
it does technically blow, doesn't it?
Technically mind-blowing
Shut up,
thing I
James.
saw this generation would either be the fact that I can now play an Xbox Live against someone who's miles across the world, or the first time I saw a 3DS and saw it and went,
Are you
what?
kidding me?
Yeah, I was like,
It's
I'm not wearing...
beautiful.
I was like touching my eyes, going, I'm not wearing glasses, what? Like that.
Okay,
Like
for
slapping
the
my
listeners,
face.
just so you know what that noise was. Jack was hitting himself in the face to demonstrate that he wasn't wearing glasses, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to tell.
Imagine me right now, but looking at a 3DS. That's what it was.
No, that's actually how Jack checks if he's wearing glasses. He taps
Hits himself
he
in the
taps his face.
No,
all
but I
my
mean,
clothes. Am I wearing trousers? Yeah, I'm wearing trousers.
for me, it is completely the best gimmick. I mean, suddenly it's in 3D, you don't need glasses. Everyone's like, what? Sales were really slow.
What?
Sales were really slow to begin with. So what they started doing was setting up little stands so people could try it out. And then when people tried it out and they saw it, because they could do it, not unlike James.
Also, they slashed
They-
the price
it
by
was
like 30%.
But yeah, I didn't buy one until like a year after they came out.
released
You
because-
those
can't do
games.
3D.
It's not. It's just that when I look at a
He can't look at
3DS,
it.
there's
It
a very-
stays as two images
There's a
for
very
him.
specific point at which it will coalesce into one image. And
It's really not hard to find.
And James is
It's
too
there.
lazy to move
there
his
we go, I
neck.
just did it.
it's
Here we go,
3D
let's have a go now,
3D.
shall we?
You have it with you.
Of course I brought it with me,
This-
I knew you were going to slate it.
This is the table at which people will just have things in their hands. What is mentioned? Last week it was Cards Against Humanity. Today it's 3DS. next week, what's it going to be? Who knows?
I don't know.
£1 million.
But no, of course I brought it with me. I knew you were going to slate it. But
3D. Listen,
it's just it's wonderful. It's
my main-
absolutely beautiful.
I can definitely see the appeal of sound. My only criticism, aside from the many others which I have, is that 3D, it promises a more immersive experience because you can actually, it's like looking through a window into the gaming world. However,
That's not what it is.
having this barrier, either the glasses or needing specific hardware like that makes a thing out of it, it creates an obstacle between you and the experience. So it's actually making it less immersive because you've got this gimmick that takes all of the focus away.
So you can't...
But
okay, I'm going to
that's-
hand you this 3DS XL.
Okay, we're testing.
Look at the menu. Take
the,
it
the
then,
top
hold
one.
it.
The top one.
The top one's
the
the
top
3D
one.
one, not the bottom one. I bet that's why he hasn't been able to do it.
Does
There's
that-
ghost. I can't really.
Do you hate magic eyes as well?
Move it
yeah, I
like-
can do them.
tilt
That's
it left
why
and
he
right.
can't do magic eyes. That's why he can't do 3D.
To be fair, there is a small percentage of people who can't see 3D. They
Yes.
can't do 3D.
Yeah.
I can do it
I
sometimes,
think
but
James
it's
might be in
difficult.
that.
You don't have to
weird
cross your eyes or anything,
category.
you just look at it.
I think you're just feeling a bit left out, James. You can't
It's
join
not-
the
it's
cool
just- no,
club.
I mean, it's just
3D
visually absolutely stunning.
The
It's
3D,
beautiful.
the 3DS 3D is quite difficult for a lot of people, but stuff like wearing glasses and stuff, it works for me. I don't really have to try that hard. And it's obtrusive. I think it detracts from the experience.
Not at all. Not at all.
Do you think the same thing about surround sound?
No, but surround sound's not comparable in any way to 3D.
Here it is. It's meant to be an immersive
Why not?
gimmick.
It's an immersive experience.
Because it doesn't change the way you're hearing, it just changes the
It does.
directions from which you're
Of course
hearing.
it does.
Yeah, but which changes the way you're hearing it, because I'm no longer hearing it coming directly from in front of me. I'm hearing it coming from all around me.
Experiencing a 3D game or film requires a change in perception, whereas 3D, like surround sound, doesn't. You're still just listening to sound.
I don't agree.
No, but-
Anyway, the reason
It's too clever for me.
The
I don't
3D
like it. It's not like...
the 3D is a gimmick. It's not required for gameplay, which is why you are able to turn it off. Okay, there's a couple of bonus levels in Super Mario 3D Land where you need to turn it on
Oh, really?
to be able to complete the puzzle.
Yeah.
But it's a bonus puzzle, so if you don't complete it, it doesn't affect the game.
Yeah.
So it's not needed for the gameplay at all, which is why I think it is the truest gimmick. The truest of all of them.
The one true
The
gimmick.
one true gimmick.
It gets more powerful as it kills other gimmicks.
But it really adds to the fun of the game and the fun of the experience. Like, doing Ocarina of Time in 3D on the 3DS was brilliant. I hadn't played it on the N64. I know, I'm terrible. But I played it on the 3DS and it was amazing. Professor Layton on the 3DS worked amazingly well. What was the other? Super Mario 3D Land. That is amazing, isn't it?
It is a
Mario
very good
in
game.
3D. I mean, it's a wonderful game anyway, and having it in 3D is wonderful. And then obviously Pokemon in 3D was amazing too, but we'll get onto that later.
But listen, I'm someone who plays a lot of games and sort of...
You play a lot of games that are very different to the games I play.
Not necessarily. I enjoy most of the Mario games, quite a lot of Nintendo games. I like Pokemon and stuff. If I, who am actively trying to participate in this, have difficulty with 3D, imagine what like someone who has like one eye or someone really partially sighted
Oh
or
well,
an
yeah,
old
no.
person or young kids.
This is it. This is why it's a gimmick. Is because it's not required for gameplay.
But I think it's quite divisive. It's quite a polarizing experience.
For the 5% of people that can't do it,
it excludes a lot of people
disabled,
because
they
some
can't do
people
it.
get motion sickness from it. It'll give some people headaches. Some people just prefer
No,
not to
you
have
build
it.
up
Some
a
people can't
tolerance
do
to it.
it.
I used to get headaches
shouldn't
after
have-
half an hour.
you shouldn't have to build
Now
up
I
a
can last a
tolerance
lot
to
longer
it.
before I get a headache from it. It's a gimmick,
Okay.
and I love it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's also an opinion,
Yeah.
so I don't think we're going to change James's mind.
Well,
I say we because the three of us are against you, James. I mean, we're all very impartial here. You can believe whatever you like, James. We love you.
Well, this would be a good time because this is the only reason listeners are actually listening. I think they want to find out who won the Amazon £10 voucher. Thank you all for entering our survey and answering all the questions.
surprise! It never existed.
No, some of them gave. I think some of them were just trying to get out of work because they gave some really good long descriptions, which I can go into more detail about them. But the winner is Harrison Ellis.
Yeah.
And we chose you at random, if anyone's wondering. We didn't just look at what you chose and thought, yeah, that'll do. So Harrison Ellis, I'll be in touch with you to send you a lovely Amazon £10 gift voucher. And I'm hoping you're in the UK, otherwise I've got to send some sort of like weird Australian dollars or something.
10,000 real. Or however you pronounce the
I don't know what.
currency in
I could
Brazil.
lose a lot of money here if I don't get the transfer, like the currency exchange rate, right?
16 million rubles.
Suddenly he's
Just ask him what £10
I've
is
made a
in
million
his
out of
local
Harrison
currency.
Ellis.
He'll be like, yeah, sure it is.
Right, we've got the big ones coming up. I guess we should probably do the best single in-game moment before we do best and worst. Does everyone
that's a
agree
good
on
idea.
that?
Good idea.
Yeah,
So-
good shout.
Best single in-game moment
I think James should
from
start.
the
You
last
want me to
generation.
start?
And from our listeners, this got a massive response of different people's opinions.
It's an
But,
exciting question.
go on, James, what did you go for?
This one is going to be contentious for a few reasons. But I'm going
You're the worst.
for-
Okay, carry on.
I'm going for...
I don't agree.
The first time I tried 3D... No, I'm kidding. The first week or so of World of Warcraft, and I don't mean the first week it was released, I mean the first week I played it, which was just before the expansion pack came out. So sometime in like late 2006, I think. And that game, it receives a lot of flack, especially nowadays. I mean, there's a lot to criticise it for. It's very
Really?
stagnant. But...
The game isn't criticised as much as the people who play it are.
Well, that's debatable, but I think the main thing that sticks in my mind all these years later was the sheer sense of wonder and exploration that this world that they'd created could achieve. I mean, it was because it's such a vast landscape with so many hidden places and hidden rules and stuff, and just the fact that there were so many players who'd been playing it for like a year and a half at that point, and they were so powerful, and I could never hope to be as strong as these guys. You know, it's quite an intimidating world, and that was when I was really taking off, and there's the atmosphere was electric almost. I mean, you had all of these people playing for like 25 hours a day, you know, trying to be the very best that no one ever was, and you're just this guy who started playing playing, you're seeing all of this, and like you don't really understand anything. You're like,
World of
wow.
Warcraft, if anyone, because it's actually spanned 3 console generations now, because they've just announced another expansion for it. And
Oh, they're not going to stop. They'll never
It was
stop.
released in
No, of course not.
2000
No, but they're getting all those subscription fees pouring in.
2003?
It came out,
maybe?
it came out in 2004.
But you're right. I would count that as this generation because
Yeah.
it's still going. It's still huge. I mean,
It's
you
still
can't,
massive.
You can't really
I
argue
mean, it
it.
peaked in like 2008, I think, with 13 million subscribers actively paying the monthly fee. But now it's still got like 6-7 million, which is insane.
Was there any particular memories, particular point where you went, "Wow, this is mind blowing"? There's like,
First time in the game, there are dungeons which
Yeah.
have player limits of 5 people. So you get 5 people together, and you go into this dungeon where the monsters are harder, and you get better items at the end. And the first time I did the first 5-man dungeon, I didn't know anything. I was awful. Everyone was just kind of running around like headless chickens doing nothing. It was crazy. But that was probably the best multiplayer experience I've ever had in a game, and it's definitely the most memorable.
it's funny. It's funny you say that because my one as well was multiplayer based, but I went for GTA 4, and I think this generation has been, for me personally, the first time I've really got into multiplayer. I mean, I played Doom and I played like GoldenEye and things like that, and Halo, but this is the first time I went proper online with a console, the 360, proper set it up and went in. And I remember the first game I played was PGR3 against 6
so
guys,
good.
and it was lovely because they were all talking to me. It was all nice. It was new, and everyone was kind of chatting away, which doesn't really happen anymore. It's a bit of a shame. But I remember GTA 4 multiplayer. I mentioned to get a lot of my old friends from home who live, over 50 miles away to get together in GTA 4. And it was just the most fun I've ever had because I said to them, all right, I was trying to organise it because I was the most kind of hardcore gamer. I was like, right, guys, come on, we've got to do the co-op. Like, we're doing free roam. Everyone, let's all go to the bowling alley down on the beach. And it was weird, I was telling them directions in the game. And I went down to the bowling alley and all of them were beating me there. And I went in, and it sounds a weird thing to say with my best moment. And there was a dead grandma on the bowling lanes. And they were all shooting her, there was like 8 of them, trying to shoot her down the bowling lane into the pins.
Did they succeed?
They were trying to bowl her, you mean?
They were trying to bowl her with their guns.
Right, okay.
And
I thought you were going to say that you walked in and all your friends were just bowling, which would have been a much more
Which
powerful
would have been amazing.
no, they weren't.
much better moment than just shooting.
Or they all turned around, the characters all waved and went, "Hi, Jack."
This
Well,
one's
no, but
much
that's-
more GTA, though.
Yeah, but that's not
the funny
special.
thing. No,
It's-
but that's not the funny. But I think that's what made it my favourite moment. It wasn't normal. It wasn't like they were all.
That's definitely normal for GTA.
You just walked
No, but
in on
this is-
all your friends doing something.
This is my theory about not good game design, but generally the human nature. So if you give someone like a piece of paper and a pen, they're going to draw a penis most of the time. And it's the same with a video game. You give them this
I
playground.
work in a school with teenagers, I can confirm.
Yeah, you
Or
give
that weird S.
you
thing
give
everyone does.
Oh, no, they don't do that. It's still penises.
Oh, really?
Just
you
penises.
give gamers a playground or a sandbox to play in, and they're going to do stuff that is completely crazy that pushes it to its limits. And it sounds really silly, but yeah, walking in on all my friends shooting a grandma in the face trying to
Pushing
bowl her
it
down
to
a
its
bowling
limits.
alley was just hilarious. And it kind of, in a really depressing way, is the best example I can think of this generation of consoles, because it was just something that I could never have done before, and I would never have imagined that.
In this metaphor, who is the grandmother? Like,
No,
if
no,
that's
no,
the best example.
there
of
is no
console.
metaphor. This is a
that
real-
the future of gaming?
For me, it kind of was my moment where I kind of just went, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, and you see my friends the next day and we're talking about, oh man, that car when it jumped over that thing, and it was just something I'd never done before in gaming, and it was the first time I went, this is incredible, this is fantastic. Gaming is, it was the first point where I realised when people say to me they don't play video games, I no longer, or they were like, oh, video games are stupid, I no longer got angry at them, I actually felt sorry for them. And that was kind of the turning point for me. No, but it's like, if someone says I don't watch TV and don't listen to music, I go, okay, what's wrong with you? And it's now the same with games. If someone says to me they don't play games at all, I kind of go, fair enough, but I'll be honest, you're missing out on some of the most greatest experiences you can get at the moment. And that was pioneered by bowling a grandma down a bowling alley by my friends.
Right, it's
Lizanne,
Powerful, emotive.
Lizanne, best moment.
Okay, the problem with mine is that if I tell you exactly what happened, then it will ruin it and ruin the experience.
Well, what game
for
was it?
Anyone else is going to do it. It's from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, no, you got to be careful. You
Exactly.
Can't, you can't
It's from
really-
the end of the second episode.
Oh, is that the farm one?
No.
Oh,
It's,
are you
it's
sure?
after the farm one. The farm happens in that episode.
The third one is the
it's when they leave.
I love the way we're all playing
Yeah.
charades now. of
We're
what
all
happens.
acting it out, so we
Yeah.
can't say. But
Try not to describe
The people-
what happened, but why
Exactly,
around
but-
it, I guess.
yeah, they're leaving this camp.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I can
yeah,
say
I know what you
that.
mean
That's
now.
not too spoilerific.
Yeah.
They're
Because
leaving
what
the camp,
effect it had on you.
and then your character has to make some really harsh decisions very quickly.
I was happy about that bit.
Yeah, obviously, because certain characters became irritating.
I know the bit you're talking about.
However, the fact that it all happened so quickly, obviously, because they're trying to emulate real time with their storytelling. And it was the fact that you had to make these decisions that quickly. And the decisions that you end up making, obviously, they try and steer you in a certain direction. You don't have to make the decision to do this thing you've got to do. But ultimately, obviously, you do. And that, for me, was an incredible experience. My heart was pounding. I was in shock that this was happening. But I knew what I had to do in order for my character and Clementine to survive. And it was the fact that suddenly I made the decision to do what I did. And that kind of shocked me a bit. And the fact that a game created the opportunity for me to make that kind of decision.
Yeah.
And for me to feel like I had to make it, and to make it so that these fictional characters could survive. And I had an emotional response to it, a physical response to it with the heartbeat, and I was actually in shock. I couldn't. Yeah, I stopped playing it after the end of that episode because
it was a very Game of Thrones.
It was really harsh. Yes,
one of my
huge moment. I had no idea it was coming.
If it was a book, I would have thrown it across the room and never read it again.
One of my
well, I'd have skipped to the end and see what happened.
One of my runner-up choices kind of ties in with that, of sort of like moral choices in games. Well, I was going to say, I was going to pick BioShock. First time you have to decide whether you want to harvest or rescue a little sister, which was. Oh, it's not a spoiler. Like literally, first 2 minutes, and that was my first moral choice in this generation that I had to do.
That one wasn't very good though, because A, it was binary, like be Jesus or be Satan, and B, it's you're stuck. You have to do whichever one you choose first all the time.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It wasn't as like profound as Walking Dead sort of moral choices, but it was my first time that I went, "Whoa, this is a bit different."
Yeah.
I did. What do you mean? Why are you giving me choice? I just want to do whatever beneficial for the gameplay.
But that's why I loved it.
It is fantastic.
There's such a good in-game moment where it's the panic. It generates panic.
I'm all for more consequences in game design, even if you feel, I love that.
Ideally, what I want is like the old choose your own adventure books.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know those, a bit like that, but as a game. Well, and The Walking Dead does that to some extent. Obviously, it still has a general storyline it has to follow, but the way the characters respond to each other will change depending on the decisions you make.
Have you ever played Skyrim or Fallout?
No,
because they're essentially what you're describing.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're very.
I didn't know that.
Back in the game.
But then, I don't know, too open world and it'll annoy me too much.
It's quite a specific criteria you've got there.
This is why I don't play a lot of games. It's because I'm really fussy with what games I like. And when I find a game I like, I play it all the time.
Anthony, best moment. Boom, go.
Before I say that, I want to say that I don't like the choose your own adventure style because it means that I'm going to miss some of the game's content.
That's why I don't like it when it's too open. That's what I mean.
Should you always experience all of the content in a game?
Not all of it, but if there's chunks of the story that I'm missing, I feel like I either have to watch them on YouTube or replay it, and I don't want to put all the time to replay it. And
what if the story is partially comprised of the fact that you are missing some of the story?
What you mean? The story is dependent on that fact?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
I think that's where The Walking Dead has got the balance just nearly perfectly right, in that what you do doesn't necessarily affect the storyline, but it does affect the way the characters respond to each other.
Yeah.
So the events are still going to be the same,
right?
But you get that kind of experience.
Why can't you just enjoy the ride?
Well, to give a simple example, if I'm in an RPG and there's a left and a right path, and I go right first, because it's all about exploration in like dungeons and things, and the right path actually progresses to the next area, so I can't then check what was in the left room. It was probably like a potion in a chest, but I still annoyed that I couldn't see it.
I'm exactly the same.
But the whole reason in that sort of incident, the whole reason there's a choice there is to reward you if you pick the right one, or to punish you if you don't.
No, because you could go to the left one and then find the potion and then just go back to the right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's to reward you for having chosen correctly, arbitrarily, but still.
No, because it's about exploration. It's not about choosing correctly. It's about going in every room.
The fact that you're like, oh, what was in that path? What was that way? Is intentional game design. They want that.
I don't think that's intentional at all in JRPGs. Like a lot of games now, before the final boss, for example, will say, "This is the point of no." They'll put up a dialogue saying, "This is the point of no return."
Yeah.
Make sure you've saved or go back and do whatever you want before you go in here, because they know that people don't want to miss out by going through the wrong door too early.
How do you feel about games where more like consequences? I don't know, like I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but like in a GTA game, like if you kill a character, And it's
Well, no, that happens in
you've
Mass
lost
Effect a
that,
lot.
You've lost that storyline now. Does that really annoy you then?
Well, I think Mass Effect is a perfect example. I think because it's so well written, I don't mind. And I don't know, it's like you can lose characters forever in the Mass Effect games, and you won't even be able to have them in the second and third games if you lost them in the first game. So that's a huge consequence.
Although in the case of certain racist I was fine with not having them there.
Although, having said that, I think I avoided being annoyed by that because I actually looked up the perfect way to do it so that I kept all the characters I could, because I didn't want to miss out having this extra character in my party for the next 2 games.
But then that totally invalidates the point of the choice.
I didn't look up like walkthroughs. I looked up the steps you ought to take to basically I looked up as much as I need to know to keep certain characters alive, and that was it. Like I didn't look up story spoilers or anything.
Still, then that renders the choice obsolete because you're not even choosing. You're just picking whichever one you've been told.
I guess I place less value on story than I do on seeing content. If that makes sense.
What was your
my choice?
Greatest moment.
I think multiplayer, like you said, enables greatest moments a lot more because we have a much bigger connection with humans we know than humans who are simulated in games with AI. But mine is Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Right.
And this could have happened in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, even though I don't have it. But Bad Company 2, I was playing it, and it was the first game where team play really shone because they awarded you for that sort of thing. And I was basically in a desert, and I popped out from behind a rock, and someone on the other team popped out from behind their rock. And this wasn't planned, we just happened to be in the same place at the same time, and it was only us, right? And we looked at each other across this open stretch of sand, and we started firing our guns wildly at each other and missing completely. And I knew I was done for, because I'd run out of bullets, and I was reloading, and he was still firing, and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly this huge barrage of missiles comes raining from down behind me, and hits this guy. And it was a friendly chopper who'd come up.
Aww.
And he could have just passed on, but he decided to kill the guy. I don't know if he was doing it for me, maybe it was one of the points. But I was sitting there thinking, I'm definitely dead, while this guy was trying to shoot me in the face. And then a guy on my team shoots him with rockets from a helicopter. So I was really pleased with that, and it kind of drove home the fact that team play was in this game for real, and you couldn't just go off lone wolfing. There were people that would actually help you. And that was a really powerful moment because it's something I hadn't really seen before. A lot of multiplayer games, like Call of Duty, everyone's just doing it for themselves. No one's playing team game. Anyway.
Our listeners gave some really good answers, actually. I'm going to read out a couple of them. They're quite interesting. Kelly Ingalls said leaping from towers in Assassin's Creed. I agree, that was a great moment. Jacob Ingalls said the opening sequence of Bioshock 1. Janosch said waiting for Half-Life 3 to be confirmed.
Lol, well done, Janosch.
Frosty Taz says just beating Demon Souls.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Again, Cicada SYCADA said in Journey, the moment when you wake up after having frozen in the snow.
Yeah.
And you meet, he was saying he was playing multiplayer with someone else, and I explained that you two characters get separated and they both get frozen, and they meet up again later. And he said he was like running across the landscape towards his friend. It's quite a nice little thing.
Little toaster style.
Brock Wilson said Metal Gear Solid 4. There was towards the end of the game, you reach one of the original areas from PS1, and he said it was a real kind of throwback that he enjoyed. Liam Burkett chose one of mine, which was Skyrim. He said the first time he was climbing a mountain and the music came on and a dragon appeared, which I went, yeah, that was pretty good.
Dragons were big this gen, huh?
Yeah, they were. They were. Ian Grimm chose a really good one that I forgot about in Gears of War 2, where you find Dom's wife, which if anyone's played that game now, go, whoa, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, lads.
Yeah, we had quite a few more that were quite interesting, and there was one, the person who forgot to put their name, but it was really good, walking out the vault in Fallout 3, which I agree was... Yeah. I remember that would have been I may feel like I should have put that, but yeah, they didn't put their name at the end, so sorry about that. But yeah, and we move on to, should we do...
I think we should do worst game then best game.
Are you sure they said I'm pretty sure they said working out what happened in Vault 11 in New Vegas.
Oh no, I think that was another one, but there was another person that said New Vegas working out what happened in Vault 11.
Oh, okay.
Which was a great... Yeah, that was a great...
What did happen in Vault 11? Which one was that?
You got to work it out.
What didn't happen?
I can't remember, but I remember the bit where I remember walking around. I think they all turned on each other or something.
Was that the crazy gas?
Well, in Fallout 3, there's a great story. One of my favourite story arcs is one where you go to, I think it's Moneypenny Towers. And again, 10 penny, yeah. And it was a moral choice again, where there are mutants in the basement who want to live in the hotel, and you can either side with the humans and not let the mutants in because they're so like stuck up, or let the mutants in. And the funny thing is, which kind of ruins it, no matter what you do, if you let the mutants in, they overrun them all and kill the humans. If you don't let the mutants in, they overrun all the humans anyway and kill them all. So oh well, never mind.
Best
Excellent.
in-game moment.
The decision you make has no effect
So
on the
let's
outcome.
do worst game. Who wants to go first with their worst game?
Me.
I will.
No. Okay, two of you. Anthony, you go first.
Mine's
You go
very
first.
quick.
Speaking unison.
Mine's really quick as well.
Bad Rats. It's a PC game. You can get it on Steam. It's always very cheap because it's terrible. It's a deterministic physics puzzler like The Incredible Machine, if you're that old, or like a Rube Goldberg-based game.
Oh, I remember playing that. Why do you hate it?
So, no, you probably haven't played this one.
Really?
'Cause you set up like an arena with the things you've been given. It's sort of like Lemmings in that
It's
sense.
a bit underground, James. Hurry up.
And you're trying to kill these cats, right? But it's all based on physics, just like, say, Trine is,
I'm
right?
pretty sure I have played that one.
Physics. Okay, the reason it's terrible is because it's a deterministic physics-based game, but the physics are not deterministic in that they will not do the same thing each time, even if the setup is identical.
Oh.
And sometimes, like, the ball will go down the Z-axis, so it'll actually fall off the stage because they didn't put up invisible walls, so it won't go.
Right.
It's like 2D vision. Anyway, the physics are terrible. And even if you set it up as the developers intended, you might not complete the puzzle because the physics are that bad.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
such a simple
That sounds
concept.
fantastic.
For such a simple concept, the fact that they messed it up that badly means it's the worst game of the previous generation.
Lizanne, what's yours?
Well, the thing is, because I'm so fussy and particular about what games I actually play, I don't tend to play bad games that often.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
that problem as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't.
Yeah. So
I play loads.
basically, when I was writing my list, I just thought, well, what do I hate most in games? First-person shooters. What game epitomises everything I hate about first-person shooters the best from the current generation? COD Blops. COD Blops.
Also, Black Ops was probably the worst of the Modern Warfare era.
Well, I have no idea about that. It's just
World of War was probably the
COD
worst
Blops. COD Blops
Oh,
was
yeah, no, I guess-
huge.
yeah, not
The
that
release of it was huge. The marketing surrounding it was ridiculous. We had so many absences from school the next day. It was insane. All boys.
All trying to
It's like,
reenact
it's
it.
like teaching in a girls' school suddenly.
Knifing each other.
But I mean, it's everything I hate about first-person shooters.
What is that?
The fact that it's a first-person shooter.
Guns and
but
explosions.
What are the things that epitomise
Guns,
first-person?
explosions. You need to know about different kinds of guns and which ones to use. It's like playing a golf game where you've got to pick the right club
But those
to
could
do the
be-
shot. It's
those
like,
could
no,
be
I'm not interested in knowing
Those
that.
could be aspects of a third-person shooter and are not aspects of every first-person shooter.
Or like when you go into a Pokemon
Well, I don't know
battle
that
and you've
'cause I
got to
don't
pick the
play
right
them, do I?
Pokemon.
Like I said, I don't play a lot of bad
See what I said,
games,
Jen,
so I just
did you hear
thought, what's the type of game
That's
that I
good.
hate the most? What's
Yeah,
the
I can
game
get
that
behind that.
epitomises all that?
Hey,
So,
Lizanne,
I picked that.
how is it any different from going into a Pokemon battle and picking the right Pokemon?
Loads, because I'm actually interested in Pokemon, whereas I'm not interested in COD Blops.
What if they were golf clubs?
Then I wouldn't be playing that game in the first place.
Pokemon are basically
No, like I
cute
said, I mean,
guns.
Lizanne
this was the
used
hard.
7
Do you know what?
iron.
Do you know what?
It's
This
super effective.
this was the hard. This is the hardest category.
Golfamon.
This is the hardest category I had to pick for.
Yeah.
Was because I couldn't think of any game that I'd actually played that
No, I
I
had trouble with that
hated.
as well.
Yeah.
Because
loads of bad games.
because you do QA.
That's true.
And so
you
I
like a list
couldn't
of terrible
really think of
games.
one. I couldn't really think of one. I mean, the
Look at my
actual
CV.
game itself I admire in quite a lot of ways, but the concept of the game is not one that I like or will ever appreciate. So
Are we
that's
still
why I
talking
chose
about Golfamon? Golfamon.
Have you heard of a
Gotta
game called
hit 'em
Antichamber?
all.
it. No.
Gotta put 'em all.
There's a game called Antichamber that's it's like
Seven Iron,
it's a
I
weird
choose
puzzle
you.
game. It's like non-Euclidean, so you'll go through a door and then you won't be where the door leads. But it's a first-person shooter, so it's first-person perspective, but you shoot stuff. But it has none of the things that you hate, and I think you'd actually quite like it. And if you played that, I think your total
Well, I
perspective...
liked Half-Life. And
So
that was good.
you don't hate the entire genre then, just...
Nothing else, but I hate the idea of the genre itself.
Maybe so does COD Blops then for you personify not necessarily the method of interaction, aka the first person
It
shooting,
has all
but
the worst aspects
the
of the first
genre
person shooter that I
kind
hate
of
the most.
military
which is
shooter.
just the rah, kill all the things,
Okay.
kill all the things.
That makes more sense to me.
I would
now.
That's
agree.
what I hate, because there's no story, there's no appreciative atmosphere.
there is a
there's
story,
no
though.
there's no creation. There's nothing creative about it.
I
apart
would
from
agree-
kill all the things, and I'm not interested in that.
I would agree with Lizanne that COD Blops is kind of when the series for me jumped the shark and they were just doing the same thing each year.
I love that.
How is that
phrase.
not Modern Warfare 2?
No, because they all, like Modern Warfare 4 brought in a few more things to the table, and I agree. Maybe I should say Modern Warfare 2 would become the one.
That was the point at which
Maybe that was when it did. But I can agree. But then maybe it's just because COD Blops was the follow-up one that I kind of went. Although it did bring in zombies, but anyway, I know World of War did. Sorry.
World of War did, yeah.
I think.
Anyway, go on.
I was actually considering. This is a bit of a throwback now, but I was considering some of the Call of Duty games, Modern Warfare games rather, for the best in-game moment category.
Oh yeah.
And the best example I could think of was the nuke in Modern Warfare 1, especially because of the repercussions it had. Like, I wasn't expecting it to have that result, because you're basically a superhuman that gets out of every scrape. And hopefully this isn't a spoiler, because it's really old now.
It's so old.
But that moment was like really startling, but I didn't feel strongly enough about it to put it in my category. So I just want to say that the set pieces in the Modern Warfare games, at least, can be pretty impressive.
Although, I mean, now they've reused the concept of killing the playable character like several times.
Oh, really?
Then, yeah.
Okay.
James, worst game. What was yours?
Killer's Dead.
That was recent.
Yeah, big budget, respected developer, should know better, very sexist. A lot of money, a lot of attention, totally blew it. It makes
Wait, was Killer is Dead the previous generation?
Yeah, no,
You're thinking of Killer 7.
Just come out recently, like only about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Killer is Dead.
It's
On
the
what?
pseudo one. It
On
came out on like
360, PS3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, is it not Half-Life 2? Is it not?
No,
is
I'm
it
saying if it came out a few months ago, maybe it's like Wii U or something. I wasn't sure.
No. And it irritates me because I think everyone involved should know better, and it makes us look really bad.
Like a teacher at a class.
I'm embarrassed.
You should all know better than this.
I'm embarrassed that they've made this. I, who have nothing to do with it whatsoever, I'm embarrassed to enjoy a medium that this game has been released into. That is how irritating it is.
That's really eloquently said.
Unlike you guys, I just had to go through my game collection and have a look at some of the stuff I've bought, because I've got some gems. I've got Jericho in there. I've got Shrek the Third. That was a great, terrible game.
But Jericho wasn't meant to be bad.
Jericho actually got a lot better as it went on. It wasn't the worst thing ever. I've got 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. What and all that. That's
That
brilliant.
wasn't necessarily a bad game.
Again, no, that's surprising. So it came between two in the end, because my most disappointing game, which I kind of think was a game called Wrecked, because it was a sequel to a game called Mashed on the Xbox, which I loved.
Yes,
and this sequel, they were developing called Supersonic. They were really bringing it out, really getting on. I was like, come on. It came out, and it just didn't have it. But that's not my worst game. That was my most disappointing. My most disappointing was a game called Jumper, based on the film Jumper. That's the worst game I've played this generation. I mean, it's completely unfinished.
Sorry, the San and Anthony are having fun.
Right, give me that dog. Give me him.
There's
If
a dog.
you've noticed during this episode, we've been talking about a dog.
It's not a real dog.
It's because I've got a dog toy.
It's not a real
Yes.
dog.
And these two have
It's
been
not a
very
real dog. It's not a real
all
dog. But
And they've been doing stuff to this dog.
Putting it into positions, and I keep making them sexual, and then it keeps on. The dog keeps doing things to Anthony.
That dog is
Sorry.
disgusting.
He's a good
The
dog.
dog
What can I
is
say?
a filthy
Any-
dog.
I'm trying to record this
Sorry,
podcast.
So
sorry.
Anthony,
Serious
what did I say was my worst game, Anthony?
I have no idea.
Brilliant, great
I was
listening.
actually giving a 69 to a dog, apparently,
It was really
with help
funny.
from Lazan.
Well,
So I guess
if you
that's
were
a threesome.
listening-
It was really
But
funny.
if you'd have been listening, it was Jumper.
Oh, I remember that now. It was the sequel to
Wait,
Mashed.
I thought you said cardigan.
Right?
I'm not going to. Do you want to hear what some of the fans said? You're going to
Yes.
go. No.
Always.
Again, this was quite interesting.
It was really funny though. It's totally worth it.
Totally worth interrupting my flow. Quite controversial one amongst the fans again. It was quite cool one. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find some of the people what they said. Worst game. All the COD games following Modern Warfare, said Martin Pye.
Boom.
It's
a win for me.
Sonic came up a few times. Call of Juarez came up again. COD again. Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
Someone, let me just quickly check. Frosty Taz said L.A. Noire. Oof, shock.
Interesting.
Because he said it was most.
Well, a lot of
because he said it
people
was the
disappointed
most
by it.
disappointing. Yeah, that was the thing.
Considering how much they promised.
Well, when I was
And,
originally trying to decide what to choose for this, I was thinking the most disappointing, because you only really intend to play good games. Unless you're Jack and then you buy Shrek the Third and keep it.
Well,
I love the
Janosch.
fact that you actually emailed Steam and asked them to remove games from your account, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm not keeping
because
bad
you didn't
games
want
around.
them. That's good. I like that.
Janosch said Gone Home, which
That's-
I worked on. So
That's. He doesn't mean that.
He knows. He knows you too well, Jack. He's trying to push your buttons.
he knows how to push my buttons. Right,
Which is ironic because there's no buttons in Gone. No, there is.
the biggie, best game of the last generation.
I'll go first.
Last of Us.
You didn't let me finish my bomb sound effect.
Yeah, all right.
Bomb. I thought you were having a fart.
Oh, well, it's kind of half and half.
The best game of the last generation was The Last of Us.
I did not expect you to say that at all.
Oh my
I've spoken at length about why I love this game.
You haven't chosen it for any other category, though?
Because
which doesn't
I
really
didn't
matter.
want to repeat.
Oh, right.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it
didn't
would,
want to
it would
repeat.
win most
None
of
of
them
us
for
repeated.
me.
Fair enough.
I
Let's
mean,
give it.
really, to not discuss it too much length, I think the gameplay is very subtle but very well done. I like the way it approaches ludonarrative dissonance. That's sort of the way that characters appear in cutscenes. It's different how they appear in gameplay. It stops this from being a massive disconnect by making the gameplay difficult to kill even one person. So it's quite stealth based. You can't really attack many people. It's sort of, you're not some like demigod like you were in Uncharted. You're just this dude with a bat who's mashing people up. And the slow pace of the gameplay really suited the theme. Visually very beautiful, obviously. The story is amazing. The music, sublime. But really, one of the things I wanted to address here, actually, that while it is, I think, the best game of the last generation, it is very indicative of a trend that's happening a lot in the games industry, which is we tend to judge narrative quality and just general quality by how similar to a film a game is and how cinematic it is. And I find this to be bizarre, because while I think that The Last of Us has perfected that type of game, it's not necessarily what we should be aiming for in the industry, because the gaming industry is capable of so much more. You've got so many different tools, you've got so many different ways of making the player feel things or of demonstrating things to them, that I think is bizarre how like films games have become recently. And I think it's quite limiting. I think that once we've tread this water enough, and once enough games like The Last of Us have come out that are very similar in that way, I think we will move on. And the industry obviously is more geared towards that in the indie department. Like, obviously small companies are making way better games that way, but I just think that it's interesting to note that
And
it's very
Nintendo.
cinematic. Yeah, not really. Nintendo kind of treading the same ground overall.
No, I mean, Super Mario Galaxy, which has been mentioned before, which is why I mentioned it again,
a 3D
wasn't praised for
platformer.
its cinematography.
No, that's true, but again, they're not. My point is that narrative qualities especially can be advanced in a different way entirely.
Well, that's because they're responding to the needs of the gamers. In essence, like the people who were teenagers in the 80s when the NES and everything came out, they're now 30, 40. They want more sophisticated games that are going to, explore different aspects of emotion and things like that. I read an article in the Guardian a few weeks ago about how the gaming experience is being changed because the people that are now making the games are
Yes.
people with children. You might have read the same article.
Wasn't that mentioned in relation to The Last of Us, actually?
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's because now they have children.
That's
And
why
it's
kids have
about-
become such a...
That's why kids have become a
Yeah.
thing. It's because the games designers, they're looking for these new avenues. And that is one way of generating a new gaming experience, is having the moral decision we've already said. And
Yeah.
and it's responding to the needs of the gamers, because we do have, people in their 40s who had a SNES when they were 15, and
It's kind of-
that's what it's all about, is generating things to keep them buying the game still, as well as bringing up the new generation through the ranks. So it is an interesting turn, like you say.
Yeah.
But personally, I think that's the reason.
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, it sells. I mean, developers in the
Yeah.
end are going to do what sells. But my point was just that as an artistic medium, sort of ignoring money or appeal even, a lot can be accomplished that hasn't been accomplished.
Yes, and I look forward to what will come.
I was going to weigh in that because of the industry and the way things are done, you have to remember that game was, after Uncharted 1, 2 and 3 were huge successes. One of the sad things about that game, I think, is the fact that I don't think it would have got made if they hadn't done Uncharted 1, 2 and 3
absolutely
first.
not. No, that's
And
because a lot of the decisions they made are so risky and
Yeah.
not mass market
Yeah.
enough, that if they were Naughty Dog, they don't have that.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it's I guess my point is just me, it's kind of shame. Maybe that's what I was saying about best story, of why we've had so many good story-driven games near the end of the generation, is because of the fact that studios are having to prove themselves over the course of the generation with certain games. And a lot of studios have grown up with this generation. Naughty Dog,
Oh, yeah,
Rocksteady, people like that. Even, well, not really Rockstar, actually, but you're getting a few that have come out, and now
Yeah.
at the end of the generation, they're really churning out the real great stuff that people are like, wow, this is fantastic. Let's see what they do for the next gen. But yeah, no, I think that's a good choice. Just before we go into our ones as well, fans' most popular choice was Portal. Just people know.
It is an amazing. I saw Anthony had already picked it, so I didn't pick it. But
Spoilers.
I adore that game.
I was going to choose Super Mario Galaxy because it seemed like an obvious choice, but I had to then sit back and go, well, really, I didn't want to choose this game, but I thought, what was the most fun? What had the most impact? And what did I generally spend the most amount of time playing? I guess that's the way. And there's some games which I like. Sniper Elite, I think is fantastic, and Plants vs Zombies and New Star Soccer and games like that. Batman Arkham,
Plants vs Zombies.
yeah, Arkham Asylum again was a game. But the game that I got most hooked on, the most played, and just all the designs of it I was just loving was Call of Duty 4: Modern Warfare. My best game. Just loved it. It really got me addicted to it. I don't know if it's because I had time on my hands because I just finished uni or just what, but I was completely hooked. It was brilliant. All the mechanics worked for me. Obviously, it was mostly the multiplayer. Maybe it's because I was playing multiplayer on Xbox 360 the first time I'd really got into proper console multiplayer gaming. But it all just came together for me and worked. The whole idea. I love reward systems in games. I love all of that sort of mentality of why we play games for rewards and things like that. And I think Call of Duty nails it on the head perfectly.
Definitely.
And
that
it's
constant gratification.
Some people would say, some people say it's a shallow. Yeah, some people say it's a shallow game design mag. But at that time, and it was the first one that I played that did it so well, it worked really well on me.
Was that the first game that introduced the little cross whenever you actually make a hit, like on the crosshair? You know if you're aiming and you shoot, and the ability.
Hit markers, and I think Unreal Tournament had them before that.
Oh, really?
And there was a mod for Quake, yeah. Unreal Tournament 2004-3, I think, had markers.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
it just got
2.
so many little things right, and in the big picture made things so much fun. And like my fondest memories of sitting up really late, and I mean, I missed those days in gaming where I just get completely hooked to a game and stay there till 4 a.m. playing it and be like, oh my god, I got work in the morning. And Call of Duty 4 was one of the very, very few that did that to me. You know, I mean, I was hooked. Like I was completely playing it for non-stop.
Having said that, I think I'm lying. I think what Unreal Tournament had was hit sounds. That's what Quake didn't have. I think Call of Duty did have the hit X, the hit marker.
Yeah. That was just one example of the constant instant gratification features they introduced.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're also good, I was going to say, like, although this doesn't mean it's the best game of the generation, but if you were to look at what game probably had one of certainly the biggest legacy or impact on the industry, it probably would be Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, because so many started replicating it and trying to copy it and borrow from it. Even like Halo 3 was put into the shadow by Call of Duty, and Call of Duty 4 wasn't going to be a big game. I mean, people liked Call of Duty. 2 and 3 did well, but 4 just came out and suddenly it became the biggest franchise in gaming.
Before it came out, people were criticising it for not being World War II anymore.
Yeah,
and
I know.
And all of a sudden, biggest game ever.
I remember Edge magazine, one of my favorite magazines, only gave it like a one-page review. They gave it like a 9 out of 10, and that was it. And it wasn't much about it. It was like, there you go, next game. And now, obviously, it's one of the biggest franchises going, although it's only just started to slip. But what Call of Duty 4 carried on for another like 7 games.
It's interesting then that so much emphasis is being put on Titanfall, which is made by the original developers of COD 4. Because, I mean, how much of it was a fluke? How much of it was deliberate design, and how much of it was just happenstance?
Well, don't forget, it wasn't even the 4th game, because they'd done Allied Assault for EA, so it was a long time coming for. And I think it just got it at its peak. It was the peak of Call of Duty games for me. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people are still playing Call of Duty 4, even now, like 8 years later. But
I think the servers have been hacked to shreds.
Probably, yeah.
But
Lizanne or Anthony, who wants to go next on the best game? Lizanne.
You're all going to pick on me,
okay, I look forward to
so
it.
I don't really want to share Pokemon X. Because I bought Pokemon X, I didn't buy Pokemon Y.
Not
But
Y?
It's both of them.
Not Y?
Pokemon Y is much better.
Why's better?
It's not, it's the same.
Why?
It's just a different legendary Pokemon at the
Y
end.
is
Same
one
with
letter
all,
long,
Same with all
so
the other
it's one
Pokemon games.
better.
More developed.
See, you've already started on me.
Get Pokemon Z, it's Z, it's much better.
Pokemon Z's coming out next year.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a combination title or something?
Yeah, they've always done that.
Oh yeah, I remember that now, actually.
Wait for the re-release Pokemon
Good.
Virzad.
Anyway,
Pokemon A.
Yeah.
I loved it. I know you don't agree, Jack, but I thought the 3D effects were brilliant.
I haven't actually really looked at it much, to be honest.
Okay. And they've been extremely clever with the way they have tweaked the game. Obviously, it's the same game it has always been. However, they've included a lot of elements that they know that hardcore Pokemon gamers want. For instance, for one thing, it's set in a fake France, which is really nice, with the cafe culture, and you've got this Paris replica in the centre. It's called Lumio City, the City of Light, which is Paris. And then at the centre of it, you have the big tower, like the Eiffel Tower.
The Japanese often fetishize Western Europe like that. It's weird.
Well, you know, there's the Paris syndrome thing
Yeah.
that Japanese suffer from.
I
Yeah,
wonder why.
exactly.
It was how they market it in Japan.
But in the game,
Like-
when you go to Lumio City, you can see the tower from wherever you are.
Yeah.
Which is why the Japanese can't cope with actual Paris, because you can't see the tower from everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, for example, around the base of the tower, all you need to do is hold down right, and you will cycle in a continuous circle. So for egg hatching, this is incredibly useful, because there's on our Pokemon on Reddit, there's all these people that have created these little hacks to hold their controller to the right.
Oh, right.
So they can just leave their DS there cycling around hatching eggs, and they don't need to do anything with it, and it's there. So it's just little things like that, tiny little tweaks that have just made it far superior. They've also included a new trading aspect called Wonder Trade, which I've started playing around with recently in the past few weeks, where you offer up a Pokemon to trade. Someone else in the world offers up a Pokemon to trade. You don't know what they are, and you just swap.
Oh, cool.
And you just see what you get. Sometimes you'll get something amazing. Sometimes you'll get something which is really cool.
Goddamn Diglett.
Exactly.
Who would ever put up anything amazing?
Well-
why would you not just...
Well, it depends on what you're going for. Okay, so for example, I am currently I'm going to complete a living Pokedex, and so I at the moment I'm just after all the Pokemon I can get hold of.
Yeah.
Other people are really, really focused on getting the perfect IV Pokemons, which is this insane level. I can't even get into it in that depth, but essentially it means that all the stats for the Pokemon are the best they can possibly be.
Oh, right, okay.
And those are achieved by breeding generations and generations and generations of these Pokemons until they've got the perfect IV setup. And so they then have 30 or 50 Charmanders, because they've been trying to breed the perfect IV Charmanders. They can have the perfect IV Charizard.
That's eerie.
So they've got 30, 50 Charmanders that to them are rubbish because they're not the perfect IV. And so they just send them out on Wonder Trade.
Get put into the meat grinder.
It's not how God
Exactly,
intended.
but they just sent them out. And so then to me, that's fantastic, because brilliant, I've got a Charmander. This is well cool. I can evolve it into Charizard, then breed it, and then get Charmeleon and Charmander, and then I can do
Charmeleon?
Pokédex.
He's a rapper, isn't he?
No.
Chameleonaire.
That's Jamelia.
Chameleonaire,
That's
oh.
Jamelia.
Well, I
Anyway,
mean-
and so it's really good for that. But this is the first game where I've actually tried breeding. And
Sorry. Don't know why it's funny.
yeah,
So it's not funny at all.
and go into that. And I just the first Pokemon I bred was a Gyarados, and I bred it, and I got a Magikarp, and for the first time ever,
Oh.
I named my Magikarp. Do you want to know what I named it?
I
Anthony.
think I know what you
I
mean,
named it Anthony. So I now possess a level 1 Magikarp. Its only move is Splash, and it is called Anthony. And forever it will be. Just know, Anthony, you hold a special place. So anyway, I'm on my quest to complete my living Pokedex. I currently have, out of 718 Pokemon, I counted them before I came out, I have 472. I also have another 50 that I can get by evolving and breeding the ones I've already got, and then I've just got to catch the rest and breed and evolve them. So my aim, realistically, is to have it completed within a year, but I'm aiming for 6 months.
Do you think that...
And I will have one of every single Pokemon of every evolution. So I've got Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Squirtle,
Then
Wartortle,
just stick him in a
Blastoise.
warehouse and forget about him.
They're all in my boxes.
Lisanne, do you think
Gits.
is something...
I'm addicted.
Is something...
I'm fully prepared to admit I'm
is
addicted.
something being derivative inherently negative?
What do you mean?
Well, if something is very much like something else that's come before it, is that a negative?
Well, I chose
Not if you love
COD.
it.
I mean, just take
Because
it...
like Jack chose Call of Duty.
chose
Like
COD.
he loves.
It worked on me.
This is it, and this is
like a
what
drug.
Pokemon has on me. It's something that
crack.
just has tapped into something innate within me that I adore,
Cocaine.
and I can't get enough of.
But if they were to, for example, with the same production
know why.
values and quality, create a new intellectual property that had the same sort of feature set, that tapped into the same part of your mind, but was different.
You mean like Digimon?
Well, that obviously didn't tap into the same part of your mind because Digimon
But that's the same.
failed
Do you know what I mean? That's the same concept.
But I know that Digimon was just as derivative though, because it was like a hollow facsimile. You know, it wasn't really a
Yeah.
variation.
I've almost collected all the guns in Call of Duty. I've almost got all the levels of guns, all the perks and stuff on that. Same thing.
My
She-
point is
she collects
just
Pokemon, I
that,
collect
Lisanne,
guns.
Well done.
do you feel the similarity of the newer Pokemon games to the older ones is a negative?
I can see how it would be to some people. For me, no, because it's familiar. I already know how to play the game, but now I'm enjoying it on a whole new level. if that makes sense.
So maybe in a similar way to
because
some
this is
of
the first one where I've tried to complete a Pokédex, and I've tried. I'm now trying to collect all the Pokemon there have ever been. But it's the style of it and the storytelling of it. It's because it is 3D to some extent. Like Professor Layton was 3D last year.
but then maybe would you say
it's familiar and reassuring because of that. But then because of it is familiar and reassuring, has enabled me to feel like I can start trying to breed Pokemon, and I can start evolving them, and I can start trading for gain and things like that.
So then maybe you could say that in a similar way to some of the free-to-play games, they're selling you not just a product but a service. You're kind of updating your Pokemon copy every few years, but it's an ongoing transaction.
Exactly,
almost.
and especially with Pokemon Bank coming out, which means that you're now going to be able to store all your Pokemon on the cloud.
Yeah.
So they're no longer going to be trapped in a game with you having to get 2 DS systems to trade between them to get your Pokemon from one game to another. It just means that when you're done with the game because another one's coming out, you upload them to the Pokemon Bank, and then you buy the next game. You can download them all from Pokemon Bank, and then your Pokemon are all there, and you can do it.
Start with the best team possible.
No, because it's inbuilt already that you're not allowed to start trading until you've got to a certain point in the game.
Okay.
Then you're allowed to trade, but up until you reach a certain point. So they'll do the same thing with Pokemon Bank.
You see the first.
Anthony, what's your favourite game? Good God, I can't.
You're all pushing,
I can't take any more Pokemon facts. My brain's going to
Jack is
explode.
actually red in the
Pokemon's
face.
amazing!
Good God, Pokemon
Steam's
Banks,
coming out
Pokemon
of his
Cafes,
ears.
Pokemon Eiffel Towers, Pokemon
Poke Tower.
Poké Tower.
That's not what it's called.
My best game is Portal, but for a second, let's think about how nuts it is that we're sitting in this room talking about games. And to put it in perspective, because I was thinking about this earlier and it made me laugh, imagine these microphones weren't in front of us.
Yeah.
We were having exactly the same discussion. It would be weird.
Well, no, it would just be like we were at
book
the
club.
pub talking about something.
It would be like a book club,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't talk like this at a
That's
pub.
essentially
If
the
I
format of the show. There's no conceit here that this is exactly like an informal conversation we would have after the show.
Well,
is
yeah,
there?
no, that's
This is
true.
obviously-
No, but my
it's
point
structured
is
in
that-
a
we don't
way that's
swear
like-
I
as
might ask
much.
you what
We
your
have to argue-
favourite game was of the last generation.
Oh yeah, but we would discuss it in a different way. We wouldn't be as formal or as clear and concise, or in some cases not concise.
We wouldn't use the word pastiche as much.
It's
I'm
because I've drunk.
Am I concise?
I think he's talking about himself.
No.
James.
No, he was talking about me.
I'm not concise. I'm the opposite of concise.
Waffly.
Long-winded.
Incise.
But what I realised was that we come here and we make a podcast and we basically get into podcast mode, and I was trying to pull myself out of podcast mode and realise how weird it was that we were sitting here around a table.
Why would you consciously try and?
Because it's
remove
nice to see it
yourself
from a
the
different
situation?
perspective.
Mid podcast.
Yeah, that's
I see,
interesting, isn't it?
okay.
I
Well,
think
not necessarily mid. Which
You're
was
seeing
the end.
behind the curtain here, ladies and gentlemen.
Is this,
it's interesting.
is this your hint you're leaving the show, Anthony? Is this your big sign off?
My people need me.
My people.
I don't feel natural.
I know, but
Anthony is dashed into the ocean.
Portal was my game of the generation, just because it was a perfect package. It wasn't that long. The ideas were almost perfectly executed.
Did 2 not make the package even better with co-op, or
No, 2 wasn't as perfect. It was.
I
It was
actually completely agree with you as well.
It was
Sorry,
longer. It wasn't as tightly wound. Portal 1 was everything it promised to be, and it delivered it perfectly. And
Well, sorry, I'm not going to keep you not
No.
to. When you say everything it promised to be, I remember Portal being a big surprise for a lot of people because no one expected a comedy and a dark humour in there.
oh no, I mean, but what you. That's true. I mean, you didn't really know what to expect. But I mean, when you start playing the game, you get these certain expectations from it, and they didn't say overstay its welcome or lose the writing style or anything. It didn't
Yeah, I
become
agree.
worse as it went on. It kept it up, and it was a solid, say, 6 hours or 4 hours, whatever it was. It was just fantastic for everything it did. I mean, obviously there were games I might have enjoyed more, better story, blah, 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 but Portal did everything right. And I think the fact that it was a short game helped it, achieve that goal. So, yeah.
I also love the fact that Portal was given away as part of the Orange Box. It was kind of, Team Fortress 2 was a much bigger thing. Half-Life Episode 2 was a much bigger thing.
It was like this free prize in a cereal box.
It like sneaked in to the point where most people kind of didn't really play it until, do you know what I mean? It was kind of the backup. It was kind of like, I'll try that Portal game. And then they were like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic.
It was like a new IP, so I guess people weren't really sure what to expect.
I never got on with the Portal games. Well, especially number
Really?
1. Because I like Portal 2, but the original... I didn't like the level design because aesthetically it's very similar. Obviously, it's just the white testing chambers. And B, puzzle games are frustrating inherently. I think that the reason that puzzle games
Only if you're bad at them.
Well, not even if you're bad at them. The whole going through the process, it feels a little like work, Whereas in a shooting game or something, it's like constant reward. In a puzzle game, it's very delayed gratification. And I, just
I think
wonder,
that's the thing. I think that's why I don't like shooters, is because it's that constant need to continue. Whereas with puzzle games, I can take my time and do what I want. I adore Portal and Portal 2. I think they are absolutely incredible games, and I love playing them. I've played them through quite a few times. But yeah, the delayed gratification idea, I hadn't thought about that really. I always thought I needed quick gratification. That's why I like platformers. But
well, maybe you've learned something about yourself today, Lisanne.
yeah, well,
I guess-
I guess Portal 2, they are kind of, well, platformers in the sense you've got defined levels.
Yeah,
They're pretty hard, like straight up puzzle games, I'd say.
Portal 2, I had to look up a lot of ways to complete the chambers because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was getting really frustrated. I kept flying into walls and falling on the ground, things like that.
Well, there you go.
Loved them though. They're great.
is that
Christmas-
everyone's best game?
Christmas special wrapping up nicely. If hey, oh, I made a pun without even knowing it. Yeah, thank you for listening. And if let us know on the Twitter at Retrograde
Wait, are we
Show.
going to pick the best game?
No,
We've done that.
We've done that.
Oh yeah,
no, we're
we'll
not
pick
gonna
mine.
decide.
Okay.
Do you remember when you talked about Pokemon for about 15 minutes? Do you remember that? Yeah, that
It
was when
wasn't
we did it.
15 minutes.
Time flies when you're talking about Pokemon.
Genuinely,
It
though,
really does.
It wasn't 15 minutes.
genuinely though,
Was
off
it too long?
off air.
No, it was
It
when
was too long, wasn't
James'
it?
discussion as well about
No, it's
When
terrible.
we're not
and-
recording, everyone agrees. Regardless of what they say now, they agree that The Last of Us is the best game that's ever been released. So
I still need to play that.
I don't know. You change your mind a lot. You say
I don't change my
Bioshock's
mind.
the best game. Oh,
I've
wait,
never
Last of
said
Us is the best
Bioshock is.
game.
I've said it's the best
Oh
first-person
no,
shooter
there's
I've
now
ever
Infinity's
played.
coming out. I don't know what I'm
See,
doing.
Jack, it's hilarious that you're saying that because you declare that every game you pick for the regular show is the best
Well,
game of all
Whichever
time.
game he's testing at the moment is the best game ever made.
Oh yeah, how's that weird pedo book going?
Best game ever. The Novelist. You should be playing that.
We-
It's a great
That's it.
game.
we were once playing N64 and not N64, Mario 64 for the Mario 64 episode, and Jack comes in and goes, I think Mario 64 might be the best looking game ever made.
Yeah.
And
Stand by
he's
it.
comparing it
Stand
to
by
like
it.
modern games as well. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
still. So I think Jack,
Pinnacle.
whatever Jack's looking at
Yeah,
is the best looking game
this
he's ever seen.
Table is the best game ever released.
It's that 4-second memory that he's plagued by.
Like a goldfish.
He can't remember any other game.
He's the goldfish of people.
That's why I like Call of Duty. He's only got to remember the last 4 seconds when he's killed someone.
I was going to make a claim, but we're kind of getting near to the 2-hour mark, which I'm sure people who are listening
Go on,
have
make a
started to
claim.
fill.
They're listening 'cause
I was
they
going to make a
love us.
really audacious claim that seeing a Retrograde show, retro gaming show, several things, but I would definitely put down the last generation has been so far my favourite generation of consoles.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Like I just cannot believe the length of time I've had my Xbox 360, considering I've had it now for like 7 years, compared to like my Xbox, which I had for like 2.
That's because it was out for 4 or something. Whereas the 360 has been out for
Yeah.
But
nearly a decade.
But yeah, and just when you think of how much this last generation is, and like I was saying earlier, like if you're not gaming right now, you're missing out on the best entertainment media at the moment.
Yeah, you are. And
I stand by that. And to be honest, I'm comparing that with music as well. I'm comparing that
Definitely,
with
I mean,
literature.
well,
I'm
games, the
comparing that
reason
with-
that games are better than every other art form is because they include most facets of all of the
Yeah.
other art forms.
No, I definitely think Xbox One and PS4 are the best gaming generation ever. Have you seen how many
Wii
polygons?
U, you're forgetting about the Wii U.
Well,
Yeah, not really the same gen, though.
No.
we use the
Oh,
Dreamcast
God.
of this generation. Have
Oh,
you seen the number of
no. I'm getting
polygons
one in the new year.
on screen? Have you seen that new Call of Duty? Damn,
They have
Call of
like
Duty
10
Ghosts.
trillion triangles now.
It's got a dog.
Yeah.
And it's got fur that moves.
If you go Xbox, damn, Xbox goes nice.
I got your back, dog.
But yeah, if you want to get in touch with at Retrograde Shows, let us know if we've been completely wrong on stuff, or just give us your comments on this show. That'd be great. And don't forget to look out for our competition tweaks. We are running a competition to win, at the moment to win.
Bastion and Limbo.
Yeah,
We discussed
so-
Limbo in the show, so good chance to try it
Despite
out.
Yeah.
what I said, it's actually a very good game.
It's just no whatever else you said.
Visually not as exciting as Journey.
Also, this show will be out before Christmas Day, so if they leave us a review on iTunes, they don't only get a badge, they also get a
Christmas card.
Christmas card.
Been sending them
signed
out
by all of
already.
us.
Yeah.
Well, technically, we can give them out until the end of 12th night, which is the 6th of January.
Well, technically, we can do
Mental,
whatever
no.
we want. I mean, they're cards, not...
That's
26th of December, Christmas is over. You
Yeah,
lock it
no,
down.
I think we did say between now and Christmas Day.
Well,
so
let's see. I'll
we
see
can't
how-
lie.
We've had a couple of reviews on iTunes actually, and if you're one of those couple of people, get in touch with us via email, actually Twitter would be better. Just tweet us at Retrograde Show, and we'll send you out a badge because we need to obviously get your
And a
addresses. And this would be a good time to say thank you for listening if you've been listening for the last year, and also a big thanks to the Psychon Network who've been kindly hosting our podcast for the last year.
Well, thanks for listening if you've been listening for the last 2 hours. 'Cause I'm guessing most of you aren't
You've
hearing
done well
this.
there.
Well,
to
see,
be
the great
honest.
thing about releasing a longer episode now is because everyone's got long journeys to go back home.
Oh, that's true.
Because I've got a 5-hour trip back to my parents next week. So
they're
I'll
gonna-
If
listen
you've still
to the
got
show then.
a long way to go, just stick it back on again. Like,
Yeah,
just
play it
re-listen.
again. You'll have forgotten what
I
happened.
don't know.
at
I
the
think they're
beginning.
going to get home pretty angry. They're going to walk in and go, "Dad's home." He goes, "Don't talk to me. Jack said COD was the best game ever made." He's mental.
Christmas is cancelled.
Burn the tree down.
No Wii U for you.
But yeah, no. Thank you for listening, especially to this episode and of all our episodes. If you have been listening, and we're going to be
Thanks, guys.
we're going to be back in the new year with Metal Gear Solid 2, which is going to be our next episode. So
Who picked that?
I did.
Okay.
James
Fantastic game.
did.
it's a fantastic game.
Stylish.
So another shoot 'em up.
No, well, it's a stealth game.
Oh, okay.
Hideo
Surprised it's not-
Kojima is the Quentin Tarantino of the video game world.
Ah, interesting.
Anthony, I'm
Okay.
surprised it's not your best game of this generation. To be honest, you know.
Hey, I changed Half-Life 2 to Half-Life 2 Episode 2.
Oh, Half-Life 2
you
episode
can't-
1.
Metal
What was
Gear
that?
Can't
Solid
pull that
2.
crap on me anymore.
Okay.
Oh, what about what else?
All of mine were previous gen. None of them were PS2. Xbox.
Should have shown Tetris, shouldn't you? But yeah, so thank you again for listening. That's goodbye from me, Jack Marshall. Goodbye from Anthony Hobday.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from Zan Fisher.
And Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, you spoke over me. Do it again, Jack.
That's a Merry Christmas from me, Jack Marshall. A Merry Christmas from Anthony Hobday.
Goodbye. Merry Christmas.
Goodbye and a Merry Christmas from Zan Fisher
Goodbye, Merry Christmas.
and Jason Fallion.
What are you doing with your life?